KIRO AM Seattle, KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma, home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Some interesting potential changes to the NBA. Commissioner Adam Silver said today that he likes the idea of shortening games in 40 minutes, going from 12-minute quarters to 10. He told Dan Patrick, as we get more involved in global basketball, the NBA is the only league that plays 48 minutes. And I'm a fan of 4 10-minute quarters.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
this is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now.
Bump, I know it's still January, the end of January, but you know what I'm really excited for as we kind of get into February? Number one, slightly longer days. Are we past the shortest days of the year?
Yeah,
are we now getting
by that.
longer every day?
It's about 65 days until I can make a tea time at 6 a.m. and at 6 p.m.
Of course, you're monitoring by like how early can I golf?
Yep, and how late can I golf? That's how I live my life.
It makes sense. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to as we get into spring eventually. I'm also looking forward to the start of many TV shows that I really enjoy. Shout out to people looking forward to White Lotus Season 3 on HBO. Another thing I'm looking forward to is finally getting to pitchers and catchers reporting, finally getting into spring training. I know that there's still going to be a while before we see what this team looks like, this Mariners team out on the field before we get to the start of the season. But I don't know, man. I'm looking at the group of particularly infielders they have, and I'm going, pitchers and catchers report, 3 weeks?
3 of them things.
I don't know what the infield looks like.
Me neither.
I really don't.
I know JP going to be there.
JP's going to be there.
I know JP going to be there.
I know they're strong up the middle as a team. I'm impressed by the outfield. I'm very intrigued by that outfield. Obviously, you and I both know we really like the starting rotation, but, man, I was looking at these infielders, and I felt so stupid when we were show prepping.
Don't do that. You shouldn't.
Don't feel bad.
You shouldn't.
Well, no, guys, listen. I was looking at the list of infielders, and I kept turning around to asking both of you questions. Going, okay, so wait. So Donovan Solano is going to maybe play first, or is he third? Are we going Dylan Moore every day at third? And then I realized, I think it speaks to where the Mariners are, not me, that I can't figure out what the heck they're doing with their infield.
It's a common feeling, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of used to it. We had questions at third base yesterday. Feels like it was yesterday. Last year with Urias and Rojas, right? Going to platoon that thing. Okay, we figured that out, but we weren't secure in that position. We didn't feel like you had it all locked down. But I'm with you. It's like, all right, what is Solano going to play? Are we really gonna trot out Tyler again? Locklear, he had a couple moments last year. Good for him. Ryan Bliss, is he gonna be the guy? He had a couple moments last year, but you don't have the guy. You don't feel like you have the guy. So it feels like we're in danger of doing something that we're used to seeing, just platooning guys out there. I think, now this isn't a fact, but I would say that the Mariners fans, when they release the lineups, it's like waiting to see if school is canceled back in the day when you had the little ticker at the bottom. Who's going to be out there? What school's going to be canceled? That's the way I feel when I looked at these lineups.
Canceled.
My school in Cali, we have no cancellations unless it was an earthquake or something.
I was going to say, you guys probably didn't really get. Did you ever have snow when you were younger?
No, I didn't see snow until I went to Pullman.
See, I was too close to the city, too close to the Puget Sound. So when we got, quote, snow, it was like barely, like half an inch. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We never had delayed starts.
Yeah, but that's how I feel looking at, you know, this lineup here. And there's still time. They can still make some moves, but we've seen a lot of the big names already fly off the board, right? Teams are establishing themselves, and the Mariners are just waiting around. They're waiting around to see who is left over to pick up. But they have made some moves, and maybe those are the moves that they feel like they're going to have to rely on.
I just wonder whether they actually can rely on them. I mean, I look at Donovan Solano. He's played more than 100 games 4 times since 2012, but just twice in the last 8 seasons. He's never had more than 8 home runs in a season, and what you're getting is a slightly higher batting average. He hit 286 in 2024. I know people don't love batting average, but it's still been one of your top 3 averages in your team last year. So he would have had one of the best batting averages on your team, but he doesn't hit for power. He doesn't steal bases. And again, he has, in the last 8 seasons, played over 100 games twice. So, Like, I just wonder about whether he can be an everyday. I don't even know. First baseman, second baseman, third baseman. I have no idea. I feel stupid.
No, you shouldn't.
I feel stupid looking at this Mariners infield, wondering if there's something I don't see. You know what I mean? Like I told you I was doing those escape rooms. That's the same way I felt. I was looking around for clues. Like, how do people figure this out?
How was that?
It was really fun, but we didn't get out. We did two, and we didn't get out of either. And there were times one person got out of the escape room we were in 30 minutes, and in an hour we had barely gotten to the next level. That's how I feel. I'm looking at this going, what do I not see? Like what? And because I'm there, I'm also thinking there's no way they need to add.
Nah,
there's no way they
I'll
go
tell you
into
what
the
I
season
see.
with this.
This is what it's gonna be. JPS short. You're gonna have Solano at third. You're gonna put Locke at first, and he'll mix it in with Austin maybe,
or Rayleigh or something.
Yeah, you got Ryan at second, and then you know what your outfield is. You know who your catcher is. You know who your pitchers are. Just plan on that. Like, lower your expectations. If the Mariners didn't make solidifying moves earlier in the offseason, why would we expect them to make it now? Just buckle on in and just expect a team that is going to hover around 80-something wins and a lineup that is going to be shifting constantly. But here's the good part. You know who your outfield, you know who your rotation is, and you know who your catcher is.
Well, and that's what makes it so infuriating, though, because this isn't a year in which you're rebuilding and your foot's off the gas and you're going, hey, let's figure this out. Let's let these kids in the farm system develop and, kind of just roll out and save money and cut back on the budget. This is supposed to be a contention. Like, this is supposed to be a team that's contending. You have a World Series caliber starting rotation. You have a very good, very fun outfield. You have no reason to be rolling out the outfield you are, unless there's some budget stuff we don't understand, unless there are free agents declining signing with Seattle. Like, if there are things that we just don't understand, maybe, but I feel like they must add. They need to add. Dan Wilson yesterday with Wyman and Bob.
We are looking at everything. There's no doubt. And as I mentioned, we're always looking to get better. And I think this has been a kind of an odd, season in terms of free agents. There's still a lot of guys that are still out there. A lot of question marks throughout the league, really, as to who's available and what's happening. So I think as we get closer to spring training, I would anticipate there would be something that could happen. So again, it's kind of a wait and see thing. But for me, the focus is getting the guys that we have and getting them on the field and get them ready for what's ahead.
Meanwhile, if you're going with only in-house options for the infield, Ryan Divish on with Brock and Salk said it looks like this.
Where they're at now, having to sit there and piece it together in-house, that's not a good thing. I mean, could they do it? Yeah, you could run Luke Rayleigh and Tyler Locklear at first base and let Ryan Bliss play at second and then use Dylan Moore at third and have, Leo Rivas as your utility guy, or go out and get kind of a quad A guy that's a left-handed hitter and have them fill that spot. You could go get some of those, something like that, but those are below replacement level pieces. You're essentially, look what happened last year with Josh Rojas and Luis Urias. Going out and trying to do that with Dylan Moore and somebody else isn't necessarily great either.
All right, Bump. Forget the math that Ryan Divish is laying out for us for what it could look like. Forget either of us trying to piece together the puzzle of trying to fix it. How do you feel? How does that from Dan Wilson, that cut from Ryan Divish, looking at this list of infielders, how does it make you feel?
My bad, Luke. I forgot about Luke, man. My bad, Luke. We had some moments for us, baby. No disrespect. I feel like you are asking this team to do something that they've shown they haven't really been able to do consistently, which is just be magical. Have a magical season. Right? What stories do we like the best? We like the underdog stories. I think that's why a lot of people are rooting for the Commanders to get into the Super Bowl. Totally. Underdog story, right? Magical season. A rookie takes them to the Super Bowl. That's what ownership and management is asking these guys to be, which is magical. They're asking JP to have a better season than last year. You're asking Cal to continue to be the best catcher in the game and hit for bombs in an atmosphere that makes no sense that he's able to hit for bombs. You're asking Julio to play better than he did last year, which he has to do.
Yes.
He has to do it this year. You are asking these non-everyday players to come in and have the spark that we used to see from Swaggerty a couple of years ago when he would come in and make an amazing catch and steal a couple bases, and then he's gone for a couple of days. And I didn't play baseball at a high level. I just played in high school. But I would imagine that it is hard to get into your groove when you're not seeing all those live pitches, when you're not out there on the diamond, when you're not expecting to play. So what they're asking these guys to do is to do something that isn't reliable in any kind of sport. It's just to have a magical season. And that's tough to do. And I look at this lineup, and I start scratching my head a bit.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that's perfectly stated. They're asking people to do something that we love about sports, but we love it because we can never count on it, because it surprises you, because it's unexpected, because it kind of comes out of left field. To expect all of that to happen for multiple players is also asking for a lot, right? It's why you see a team like the Dodgers, and no means do I think the Mariners have those resources, but it's why you see a team like the Dodgers getting so many pieces, because they know maybe there's a down year for Freddie Freeman. Maybe Ohtani gets hurt. Maybe Mookie Betts, I don't know, something happens to him and he needs to go on the injured list for a while. Like, maybe something happens.
That's what we're asking for?
Well, no, but I'm saying that, like, to not get any kind of contingency plan, safety net, to not only have such a thin cupboard, but expect that every single piece will deliver to the best of its ability is wild.
That's a big ask.
It is a big ask. It's a wild approach, and it's not one I cannot fathom that it's one that a GM would want.
You don't like
know.
comparing sports, but I do. I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Pat Mahomes didn't have his best year this year, right? How do you supplement it with other pieces? Asking for average players to play at their very best for a full baseball season is such a big ask.
Yeah.
Asking Julio to be his best every single day is a very big ask. Like, you're asking a lot of this lineup. At this point, there are still some guys out there. The text line pointed out Bregman is still out there, I guess. You can make a play at him. There's still guys out there, but if we're going off of the history of what we know about this baseball team, I wouldn't expect to see Bregman. No, I wouldn't expect it. I expect them to go into Peoria and try to do what they say they like to do, develop. You have to develop these guys that you have on your roster. And who knows, they might have that magical season, but I don't like depending on magic. I like depending on skill. I like depending on ability. I like going into spring training and feeling like the starting point of today isn't what it was last year when it comes to your talent and the things that you need to get done. I like helping out this rotation that has carried you so many days, man, and they're not getting any younger. They're not getting younger. You're stretching these guys out. You're putting miles and miles on these arms, and knock on wood, things happen. So, no, magical. I'm not with the magic. I stopped believing in magic a long time ago.
I really did. It took me until I was about 10 or 11. Like, I really thought I might get a Hogwarts letter when I was like 9
When
or
you stop,
10.
I can't say that. Never mind. We don't know who's listening.
Yeah, very. I know where you were going with that one. Speaking of cross-sport comparisons, it does kind of remind me of entering into this past season for the Seahawks when people looked at that inside linebacker group and they went, man, it kind of feels like John Schneider didn't do enough there, man. And, we kept trying to look at the positive, and I know you were grinding tape and just trying to figure out, like, is there something here? And we still entered the season, and you still entered the season with some questions.
Yep.
And even if they started out kind of looking pretty good, I know Jerome Baker had some good early plays, it still ended up being exactly that. A number of fans, analysts, reporters looking at this situation going, this seems weird to us, ended up being for a reason, and that was because it didn't work out, it wasn't right, and that was obvious from the jump. This is how I feel about the Mariners. Like, I don't know, and I will eat crow. I'll eat 3 servings if it turns out that Jerry DiPoto and Justin, who are much better at their jobs than I would be, that maybe they saw something that no one else did and they built this wonderful infield. But what my gut tells me is happening is exactly what happened with the inside linebackers with the Seahawks. When enough people are wondering what the heck you're doing and whether this is going to be a problem, it probably will be. And I hate the feeling of wondering if this team's going to be in June with big issues on offense, with big issues in the infield. And here we were in January when you could still sign someone going, hey, are you going to address this?
I think that's what it's going to be. The question is, can you respond the way the Seahawks did? Got him up out of there, made a move, brought up a young guy, and the results are what they are. Harder to do in baseball than it is in football. clearly harder to do in baseball than it is in football. So it's about their response to this. Because, look, there is a chance, like you said, there's a chance that they put out this lineup and they start off hot and we're feeling good about this situation because we know the toughest part for this baseball team is during the early months of the season. It's cold, the atmosphere, all that good stuff. And look, they have constructed a lineup that is supposed to hit bombs, right? We've spoken to a lot of people this offseason talking about the situation here in Seattle when it comes to what type of player they should be trying to get on this lineup. Not a guy who's dependent on the long ball, but who's going to put it in play. Man, when you got guys out there, all they can do is put it in play. Like, it's like when I play with them old Korean ladies, they be whooping my butt. Because you know what they do? They just hit 150 yards right down the fairway. And I'm trying to hit it hard, and I'm spraying it all everywhere. It feels like that's the type of team they're putting together. Like, listen, we're old out here. We're not hitting for power, but we're going to put that thing in play. But everyone having to play at their absolute best is the part that scares me the most.
Let's get to headline rewrites.
Read all about it.
Headline rewrites.
We must make headlines.
The real story behind the headlines in today's news with Bump and Stacy.
Headline number one, the Athletics' Keith Law has the Mariners farm system ranked number one in all of baseball. What's the real headline?
In other news, T-Mobile Park is now considering hanging a farm system banner.
Let's do it.
Dang.
Two-time champs,
Yo,
baby.
let's go.
Dang. Hey, but if you're the Mariners, man, you got to put that out there. Hey, number
take
one.
your wins where you
number
can get them.
one.
Yeah.
Don't trip, man. We're developing guys like Harry Ford and Cole Young and Emerson. All right, we shall see. I've heard this story before, and I feel like the results have been the same. Barely missing the playoffs, just not enough to get over the hump. All this sounds good. I'm glad there's a good foundation when it comes to this organization, but I'm not worried about the foundation right now. All right, I can wait a couple years to make sure the foundation is good. The roof needs it. The roof is leaking right now. Tear the dang roof.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to do that yet. But there's still time, technically, Stacy. Still time.
There is still time. And I almost think that they just need to. It's not going to be a name that impresses people, that excites people, but literally to get a body, to get someone else to help this infield, I think it's just what they're going to have to do. In regards to the farm system, I don't want to make it seem as though that's not a really great accomplishment.
Yeah,
I mean, this team, this front office, multiple times has been able to build up one of the best farm systems, according to Keith Law, the best farm system in all of baseball. The problem is when you have a gap between where your best prospects are and, you know, where your major league team is. Right now, this is a team that has all the pieces they need to succeed and be a true contender, with the exception of good offense, consistent offense, and those bats just aren't ready yet. And so you want to clap your hands, round of applause, you know, great job on you for drafting, developing, but the draft develop strategy hasn't given you a World Series team yet.
This is all my coaches out there, all my high school coaches. You know what I'm about to say. This is for you. This is when you have that varsity team that's good, man. They're okay. You'll win a couple of games, but you're looking at that 8th grade group that's coming in, and you're banking on them taking over and saying, all right, we just got to win a few games here, set up our foundation, get the culture right, but we're waiting on the class of 2028. That is a lonely feeling.
Yeah.
Because you know the next year they're not going to be ready. You know the following year they're not going to be ready. And by the time they get to you, half of them fools are going to quit and just play basketball. Like, this is the way it feels looking at this. Yes, good job, farm system. We're good to go, but them boys ain't going to be ready yet. We got to go right now.
Headline rewrites.
Headline number two, the Kraken goalie Philip Grubauer on waivers with 2 years and nearly $12 million left on his deal. What's the real headline?
Man, is Ron Francis lucky everyone's mad at the Mariners front office right now.
For real. Distractions. Here's a Grubauer. So when I do talk hockey with my guys at Moonshine Barbecue, they always talk about how when the guys come back down to, say, Coachella or whatnot, they pay for everything. They got to pay for everything because you're still getting that money. So Grubauer, man, you get your credit card ready, get your debit card ready, because you're going to be paying for lunch, for TVs in the dressing room over there. That's about the only positive coming from this situation, or the guys who are going to be in the same dressing room as Grubauer. But it hurts to pay that much money and feel like you struck out again. Like you struck out. You struck out. My man, in that last game, we let in 5 goals. That was my buddy Tom Sprague. He said that was a showcase game. So a showcase game is like, look, we're trying to get rid of you. All right, so we're going to put you out there so people can see how good you are. And then he lets in 5 of them things. Now they're like, nobody wants you now. So now we got to put you on waivers. And you clear waivers, you're going to Coachella. It was just a horrible situation all the way around. They tried to shop this man out, just didn't work out.
Yeah, the biggest move of Francis's career, arguably, and maybe one of the worst, the single biggest mistake. I think that it is disheartening that there's so many questions facing so many front offices tied to these Seattle teams, because in a perfect world, you'd have every team you cover contending or really fun or maybe with a really fun young group. And I am curious to see how the Kraken move forward. I mean, they're presumably going to be sellers. Like, they're presumably not contending here. But do you continue to give the reins to sell, to build up to someone when you haven't liked what he's given you so far?
Did you guys happen to see
Matt!
Rewrites.
I'm just kidding.
No one wanted to hear from Curtis, let's be honest.
I was going to say, did you guys happen to see what the March 4th giveaway is at the Kraken game?
What is it?
Philip Grubauer bobblehead night.
Collectible. Hold on to it. The comeback is going to be great.
Yeah.
The comeback.
Yo, when he makes it back, comeback player of the year.
Comeback player of the year.
Yep.
Headline number 3, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier being investigated by the federal government into whether or not he manipulated his performance during the 2023 season as part of an illegal sports betting scheme. What's the real headline?
Are we becoming numb to stories like this in sports?
I don't think we're numb to it. I think it's been going around as long as sports has been around. Curtis and I and you were talking about this in the sports pit. If there's any sport where you can control the outcome, it is basketball. Where you're playing offense, you're playing defense, you have the ball in your hand, you can turn the ball over, you can put the shot up. Only other sport I can think of where you can kind of control the outcome is golf.
That's
Other than
really
that,
good point.
it's hard in football, it's hard in baseball. It's tough. Unless you're a pitcher, man, you can just toss up some meatballs and let somebody smack it like that. But basketball is it. I think the most corruption in sports comes in basketball.
That's such a good point. Who was the guy? I'm totally blanking on his name.
Jonte Porter?
Thank you. Who was like literally throwing like, I'm going to take myself from this game and say that I'm sick or say I hurt my eye or say that I can't. How do you address this if you're Adam Silver? I mean, they're already telling them. It's not like they don't have entire, I don't want to say press conference, meetings or whatever, warnings to rookies, to whole teams being like, don't gamble. You cannot do this. You will be kicked out.
All you can do is put it out there. Look, this is what happens to you if it does go down. And then the rest is up to them. You're not, you aren't monitoring their every single move. These are grown men. Once they leave the facility, they are on their own.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I am, on the one hand, not at all surprised at the number of players. At the collegiate level, there have been stories of coaches being wrapped up in gambling scandals. It seems like a very expected byproduct of sports betting. That being said, while I'm not a gambler and I don't partake in sports betting, I do not think it's hypocritical for leagues to lean into betting and simultaneously tell players and coaches they can't participate.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that creates a hypocritical philosophy or environment.
Nah,
It's a rule. Follow the rule.
I'm terrified to bet. I am terrified to bet. I look at those ESPN commercials. I'm like, man, I know a thing or two about the sport. You know, I could make some money, but then you realize it ain't worth it. It ain't worth your career. And I'm making nowhere near the money that those dudes are making. Yet it's an addiction, honestly, man. Gambling. I've seen people in my family suffer from it. I've seen people that I know suffer from it. It's a real thing, because once you hit a win, it's like in Vegas, man. Those endorphins get going, and you want to keep going and going, but it's not worth it. You are making millions of dollars that are guaranteed to you. It just ain't worth it.
It's a Throwback Thursday. Last week, we talked about Troy Aikman, what we thought of his career, the interesting parts of comparing older quarterbacks in a different era to quarterbacks today. It was a fun conversation, a polarizing conversation, talking about whether or not he was overrated. We're going to get to a new topic for Throwback Thursday, which is the worst calls ever. Let's go back in time and check out some of the worst calls we can remember. These are calls that are from our era and games that we watched, but if you guys have other ones, you have time to text those in, because we're not getting into it until 10:45. 866-979-3776. Coming up next, Mike Golick Jr. makes his case for keeping DK on the roster.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
This is the one, the only skipper of your Seattle Mariners, Dan Wilson.
These guys are really excited. They are really wanting to get to that postseason, and there's a strong desire to get there. There's a strong desire to raise their standards and to do what it takes to get there. And, all that starts in a week and a half or so, and that's what's exciting about spring training, is getting started on that long journey.
Hear the rest of this interview on demand at seattlesports.com and on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
We've all been there, sleepless nights, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurity to bed. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy knowing we're here for you. BayAlarm.com.
Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. The best place to watch all your favorite sports. Featuring wall-to-wall viewing screens, 6 windows, and 30 kiosks. Be there at EmeraldQueen.com. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler? Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now save 50% on the new Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. Learn more at sleepnumber.com.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time and skip the regular line at the airport and pay for speedy security. Imagine not having to quickly unpack and pack at the place you already came packed to. And wearing your shoes the whole time you're there? You can't put a price on that kind of luxury. Well, actually you can, and you paid for it. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time for speedy security. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. An important message about your timeshare from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. Contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about timeshare cancellation.
Call 800-292-7788. 800-292-7788.
The Hot Stove Show. Stay up to date on the Mariners offseason with Aaron Goldsmith, Gary Hill, and Shannon Drayer.
Swing and a miss for strike 3.
Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. leading up to spring training.
Is chronic pain beginning to make your everyday life a challenge? Then call Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD, with Eastside Pain and Regenerative Medicine. With over 30 years of experience, no one has more experience in pain medicine techniques and stem cell therapy than Dr. Nelson. And here's what a satisfied patient had to say.
Well, that seems to be a genetic thing. All the men on my dad's side of the family have bad backs. Since my mid-20s, it would swell up and I would lose range of motion, and it was very, very painful to stand or walk, and so I had to miss work. So he went in there and gave me the stem cell injection, and it's great now. I get to keep all my original equipment, if you will. No permanent loss of range of motion, in and out in a day. That's totally worth it. I couldn't recommend Dan Nelson more highly.
So don't let pain control your life. Consider stem cell therapy with Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD. Call 425-823-4000 today. That's 425-823-4000, or go to danielnelsonmd.com.
So I formed Davis Law Group about 30 years ago, and I would get, the same questions from people about what to do in the case of an accident. Do you need a lawyer? To the point where I decided that I would at least write a book which would answer the common questions that I would receive as a lawyer. Once I wrote my first book, it proved to be hugely popular. I decided to write then a series of books in different accident cases so that we could really teach people about their rights, how to protect them, and how to decide on whether they need a lawyer and what lawyer to hire. I've found in my career that having a client that is educated and knowledgeable about their particular type of case really helps the client and also usually ends up making the case or the claim more successful. To get your free copy of any of my Washington accident books, visit WashingtonAccidentBooks.com.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Bump and Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
One of the biggest decisions this offseason for John Schneider will be what to do with DK Metcalf. You don't really want him playing that final year on his current contract because it's a pretty significant cap hit. Meanwhile, does DK Metcalf even want to play his final year? Will he hold out? Will he force the Seahawks' hand? From there, the Seahawks have a decision whether to trade DK or whether to re-sign him to another contract extension. Will DK want to make $30+ million per year? All kinds of things wrapped up in this. So that's why you keep hearing people talk about DK Metcalf over and over and over again, because this is going to be a massive decision for the Seahawks. Mike Golick Jr. was on with us yesterday, and we asked him, what would you do? What would you do, Mike, with this front office? You've seen DK's last several seasons. The weapons they do or don't have here in Seattle. What decision would you make?
I would probably do what I can to hold on to DK. I understand eventually you're going to have to lose one of them. JSN softens that blow a lot because he really seems to have that number one wide receiver type traits to him here, but you're still going to be a team that's searching for answers along the offensive line. And I know Clint Kubiak coming over, some of that system can help mitigate stuff up front for the offensive line, the motion, the outside zone stuff that generally tends to be a huge asset for offensive linemen that might struggle in more one-on-one situations. But you're going to still need to be able to out-weapon people to a certain extent. And so I think maintaining as much of that arsenal as you can, if it's possible, would be the way to go. And DK is just such a uniquely physical mismatch that I think if I was going to try and hold on to anyone, it would probably be him.
What'd you think of that take, Bump?
I get it. As much as people complain about what he doesn't do, let's talk about what he does. He has a touchdown over 50 yards every year in his career, multiple in some years, one 70-yard touchdown. Who on your roster right now could do that? Nobody.
Not JSN. So before maybe he gets one, but they're different receivers.
Yeah, JSN is as smooth as a Cadillac, right? DK is a Ferrari. He's going. He's out the blocks. He's out of there. So it makes sense because you have to have weapons to put up points. You got to have a good running back or a good run scheme, a quarterback, and weapons on the outside. If you have one receiver, you name me one receiver who had a great year minus Neighbors, and he didn't have the counterpart. It just makes life easier. And the DK-JSN combo can be a deadly combo. But we talked about yesterday, how do you make that happen? How do you make it so that it's financially smart to keep a DK? You got to let other guys go. We talked about Noah Fant. I forgot who was on. He even mentioned Chinonwosu because he's been banged up and he's owed a lot of money.
Dre Jones
as well. There are things that you can do to make sure that happens. The thing that's going to scare people about this DK situation is because they're going to say he's not worth $30 million.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at his numbers this year, I can understand why you would have that viewpoint that he's not worth $30 million. But it's not about exactly what you're worth. It's the timing of it and what everyone else thinks that you are worth. And I guarantee you there's a team out there that would love to have DK Metcalf for his services and will overpay it because they feel like he'll elevate the team in a sense. Is DK ever going to be a guy to get 1,700 yards, 600 yards? I don't think so. But he's a guy that is going to make that 10 to, well, actually, let me rewind. Before he got hurt, he had the most big plays in the NFL. The most. The most. I think he had like 20 big plays in the NFL before he got hurt. Top 5 in yardage, right? I think we forget that. It's easy for us to look at the shiny new toy that is balling right now, which is JSN. And I love JSN, and I can't wait to see how he continues to develop. But how do you help him? How do you help him? You help him with an offensive line. You help him with a counterpart that can take some attention off of him. So I understand. I also, on the other side, I understand the crowd that says, well, let's get rid of DK, save some money, and go and even bolster up that offensive line even more. And maybe you can get a receiver in this draft that's good to go. There are only 2 rookie receivers this year to go over 1,000 yards, and that's Neighbors and then Thomas. And they're just exceptional. We've spoken to many experts. I've watched film on a lot of these guys. I don't see that guy in this draft. A young man from Arizona, McMillan, might be able to do that, and I might be wrong. There might be someone who surprises you in this draft. But right now, eyeball test and what I've seen, I just don't see that guy. So, look, I get both sides. I get both sides. But what are you willing to sacrifice to keep DK Metcalf?
So the crux of Mike Golick Jr.'s point is you are not a team with a great offensive line, and you need to out-weapon other teams if you want a chance to beat them, because you're never going to out-physical them. And I know I made that sound kind of stupid, but that's essentially what he's saying. You mentioned it as part of your answer, but I do want to focus on this part of the argument because I do think that that's a good devil's advocate argument for trading DK. I really like DK. I think he's an amazing weapon, but I also want to represent that point. Yeah, sure, keep DK because your offensive line is bad. Is DK Metcalf not one of the best resources you have to make your offensive line better, though? You know? And, importantly, if you don't use a trade of DK to offload some cap space and get a draft pick, then how do you improve your offensive line?
Yeah, I don't think any receiver makes an offensive line better unless you're just throwing slants, hitches, and outs, and you're getting that football off quickly. But I do think that if you do get better with the offensive line, DK gets better, JSN gets better, Geno gets better. So what do you sacrifice? What's important to this team? I think either way you put it, you can get rid of DK, save some money. You got to focus on the offensive line. You can keep DK Metcalf, get rid of some guys over there. You still have to focus on that offensive line. At 3 weeks ago, Ladd McConkey had 1,102. So make that 3 rookies that had over 1,000 yards. Thank you. DK is a difference maker. And with a guy like DK, I don't think if you're looking on the positive side of DK, I don't think you focus on just the numbers alone. You focus on how he affects the defense. Yesterday, I talked about how safeties cheat over when DK is isolated on the backside. Safeties know where number 14 is. Imagine now, safeties have to figure out where 14 is and where 11 is as well. That nickel has to figure out how JSN is going to attack. That middle linebacker dropping into the middle of the field on Tampa 2 has to do that. Meanwhile, the safety has to help over the top with DK. And you know what that does? It gets the tight ends open now. Like, it's a domino effect when you have the talent out there. It all goes to Kubiak now. Does Kubiak feel like DK is a necessity in this offense? And I think he is if you look at what Kubiak likes to do. Now it's negotiating. Can you and DK come to terms where everyone feels good about the situation? If not, sometimes business just happens, man. I was in a business deal trying to sell my company, and we got so close to the end. One or two things were off. We looked at each other in the eyes, shook hands, and be like, you know what? It just ain't going to happen. No hard feelings. We good, but it just ain't going to happen. It could get to that point with DK.
From the 206, heading to the Mac and Jack's text line here. I hate the idea of the Hawks' second highest paid player being the most dependent position in sports, says this listener. But at this point, it's probably most financially responsible for next year to extend DK. But I'm going to focus. So even though they're like, hey, it makes sense to extend him, I do want to focus on the first part of their point. The second highest paid player on your team is going to be a skill position player, one of the most dependent positions. What do you think about that?
I get it, man. I get it. Us receivers need a lot of help. We need the offense to do their thing, quarterback to make the right reads, running back to help him pass pro when needed, and the coordinator to figure out how to get these guys to football. But when we make that play, we also make the biggest plays in the game. The biggest plays in the game every single year come from receivers, unless we're talking about the 99-yard return touchdown that we had last year. They come from receivers. So it's you don't take a Ferrari out every single day, especially not in the Northwest. Man, you put that thing away, wait till the summertime, then boom, you hit the streets. I think that's the way you got to look at receivers. They are expensive, but they are expensive because they can do some things that no one else on the field can do.
I think maybe the sentiment this texter is also getting at is, man, I'd love to see this team invest more in the trenches.
Yeah,
you know,
me too.
And they would be right because your 3 highest paid players are offensive players, 2 of them, in terms of cap hit, 2 of them being wide receivers. I will say this team has invested more in the defensive line than ever before. Dre Jones didn't work out, but he was your highest priced free agent you've ever signed under John Schneider. You took Byron Murphy at 16 overall rather than, an offensive player. I agree with the principle, though. I think that if you look at, I don't know what the Eagles' payroll looks like. I would imagine A.J. Brown is pretty high. I don't know what the Chiefs look like, but I would imagine Kelce is fairly high. Certainly Mahomes. They pay Chris Jones a ton, so they've invested in the trenches. Yeah, I'd like to see that shift for Seattle. But I think one of the assumptions we're making when we talk about trading DK is that, and Bump, you hinted at this, the return is immediate.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Oh, trade DK, and then you can improve the offensive line. Well, hang on. Every gamble has a risk. What if you don't? What if you take that pick and he's a rookie and he struggles? What if you free up some of that money and sign a free agent and he's a bust? Like, there is a risk inherent. DK can play.
Yep.
You have no idea what you can get with the offensive line, though you do know that you need to fix it.
Real quick before we get out of here. Obviously, you guys know the highest paid position in the game is quarterback.
Yeah.
After that, it is the wide receiver per capita. That's just the way the league works right now. If you can find a specialty tackle, you go get him. But nowhere is there an offensive lineman in like the top 30 when it comes to highest paid.
Interesting.
It's a collective type thing. So I understand people wanting to take that money and invest in like 4 or 5 good guys.
It's another Throwback Thursday. Last week, we looked at the career of Troy Aikman to have a spicy conversation about whether he was overrated. This time, as inspired by Josh Allen's first down not being ruled a first down on Sunday, we're looking at some of the worst calls. If you got one, send it in. That's next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
I don't like the tush push, man. We're not
Get
playing
out of here.
We're not playing rugby.
So what?
It's stupid.
No.
Yeah, I'm done with it.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I just think
because
it is.
Philly's good at it?
No, I just think it is not.
No
the
one else is
essence of
good at
football,
it.
because you're pushing, you're pulling, you're just. That's not. It's a rugby scrum. If you want to do that, go play rugby. This is football.
Oh my God, I'm shocked by this.
I just do not like.
So
I do
what
not
part
like
would
that.
you change, that the running backs can't push?
Correct.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Jason Rance here with our local tax expert and advocate, Greg Nunn from None Better Tax Resolution. So, Greg, not all tax resolution companies are the same. There are some that are definitely not local. There are others that don't quite know what they're doing even.
Well, I tell you, these ads that all of us hear, Fresh Start program, they make you feel like, hey, man, I can just easy peasy get my taxes written off. No. And I've had several clients actually come to me after going through that process, and they just get no response after a while. They're passed around from person to person. That doesn't happen at my firm.
You are familiar with the cases that come in. You're working on them.
I'm familiar with every case that comes into our office, and I know what's going on and have the ability to really advise our taxpayers very well on what to do.
If you're having trouble with the IRS, then call Greg Nunn. None Better Tax Resolution, from stress to success with IRS Solutions. 425-947-1967 or Google NUNN. None Better Tax Resolution.
Endless hours of research, seeking referrals, dozens of calls. Hiring the right attorney can be a challenging process during an already difficult time. JP Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains.
In Washington State, Tom, there are thousands of attorneys to choose from. Referrals and online research can be helpful, but discovering the right attorney requires a conversation. It can be hard to identify integrity and authenticity without that interaction.
So, what do you recommend?
We encourage anyone looking for personal injury representation to call for a free consultation with our team before making a decision simply based on referrals or online research. Accident victims need an attorney that listens, demonstrates honesty, and is genuinely understanding of their unique circumstances. The care, attention, and preparation that our firm provides throughout the case mirrors the effort involved when taking on the insurance companies.
Save time and avoid mistakes after an injury. Contact the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
What is that sound? Ugh, that sounds like a plumbing sound. Luckily, there's a company that fixes all the plumbing sounds across Puget Sound. That's All Sound Plumbing. Puget Sound's plumbing experts. Have a sound? Visit allsoundplumbing.com.
Discover LeMay, America's car museum in Tacoma. Explore 300 world-class cars, 100 years of history, and the Shinka exhibit with 50 iconic Japanese sports cars. Thrilling race simulators and fun for the whole family. Visit americascarmuseum.org.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Hi, Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors. With thousands of full replacements with expert craftsmanship and unbeatable warranties, we've been building roofs you can trust for over 5 decades. It's more than just a job, it's our promise to you. Protect your investment with a free Golden Pledge warranty on all GAF roof replacements over $15,000. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today to schedule a free estimate. State Roofing and Exteriors, held to a higher standard since 1968.
Heading outdoors or on the water this weekend? Check in with Joey and Nelly on the Outdoor Line from 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
The Big Seattle Boat Show starts this Friday, January 31st.
Boat show, the boat show, the Big Seattle Boat Show.
It's the West Coast's biggest boat show with big selection, big discounts, and big fun for everyone. The Big Seattle Boat Show. It's a big deal.
The boat show, the boat show. If you gotta cruise the boat show, you won't believe how cool it is to bring the family.
Presented by Sundance Yachts and Port of Seattle. Details and discount tickets at seattleboatshow.com. Take your game day experience to the next level with a Mariner Suite. Suites are perfect for birthdays, anniversaries, client meetings, and that company outing you've been trying to plan for months. Enjoy first-class catering, VIP parking, custom setups for 14 to 400 people, and more, all with the help of a dedicated Mariners rep. Suites start at $125 per person, and season ticket members get 15% off. Reserve now at mariners.com/suites.
Munoz strikes out the side, and the ball game is over.
Hey, do you have a car sitting around just collecting dust? How would you like to turn that car into cash? Well, our friends at Wayscar Ford in Auburn have a program that's unmatched. They'll buy your car today. They'll pay you up front for your car, but it gets even better. Once they resell your old car, they're going to share half their profit with you. How can they do it? The money they save by not traveling elsewhere to buy cars, auction fees, shipping expenses, as well as the travel expenses, all the money they save on those items is what allows them to offer this program. They'd much rather share that money with you than give it to outside services. And no, they're not going to offer you less for your car. In fact, they encourage you to shop around so you can compare for yourself. But if you can get the same or more money from Wayscar Ford for your car, get all your money right up front, and then once they resell your old car, get half the profit, why would you want to sell your car anywhere else? And it's only at Wayscar Ford in Auburn. 102 years, family-owned and operated in downtown Auburn. That's wayscarford.com.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
What's the worst call you've ever seen in an NFL game? I know that we're going to get a lot from different eras here, and there are going to be a couple where you guys are like, why didn't you include that? But these are just the ones that for us stuck with us personally. However, Mac and Jack's text line is open, 866-979-3776. It's Throwback Thursday, inspired by Josh Allen's first down that won a first down. Brandon Bean, still thinking about it.
You're talking about like the fourth down play that was, I feel like he got that. And I still feel like he got that. I felt that in the moment. And nothing has changed my mind on that.
Yeah, same, Brandon. In fact, not only has it not changed our mind, but it inspired us to think of a few. Bump, why don't you get us started? A call that to you, you're like, this was the most egregious thing. I can't get over it. I still think about it.
It was in my childhood, man. Back in the day, I was a Niner fan. That's all they played in L.A. because the Raiders were gone. We had no team, so I grew up watching Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, and the gang. So it is the 2002 NFC wild card game. It's the New York Football Giants against the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are down 38-14 in the third quarter, and they just go on a run. Things are happening. Jeff Garcia is an underrated quarterback, man. He's not a very flashy quarterback, but he's underrated. But all came down to this play. The Giants. Oh, you want to play it? Let's go ahead.
I can play it. Junkin snapping it.
They're going to get pass interference on that play.
And even with no time left on the clock, a penalty on the defense will continue the game.
There's another flag down, though, on this side of the field.
Probably had illegal man down the field. It is an eligible man downfield.
And that offsets.
Crazy those voices we still hear today on games.
I was thinking, oh God, did I get the wrong one?
Well, that was 2002. But the problem with that play is, it was a bad snap. It's a scramble drill. So now you're looking for this a play down the field to pick up a first down, and they throw it to a big boy. It's a right guard. Clearly, the defense pulls him down as a pass interference, and New York Giants fans are going crazy. But the referees jack this up. He reported as eligible to play before. He reported as eligible, and in that moment, the ref said absolutely nothing. Could you imagine they make that play, and they make the call, and they're looking at you like, oh, man, we jacked that up. And the NFL said nothing until the next day. They jacked that up. Who knows what happens after that? But I remember as a kid going crazy. I went from, oh, my God, what is happening to, hey, they did it, and the referees, man. It wasn't, I guess, in the history of football, one of the worst calls of all time, but me and my childhood, I will never forget that play right there.
I can't believe that. Was it like a statement the next day?
It was a statement, yeah.
Man. If Twitter was a thing. Curtis, what about you?
My play goes back just a couple of years before that, and unfortunately, Seahawks fans, it comes against us here in Seattle. And it's one that had a huge impact on the future of instant replay in the NFL. I'm talking, that 1998 game, Seahawks-Jets, Vinny Testaverde scoring the game-winning touchdown. Or did he? Because they ruled that his helmet crossed the goal line, but replay showed the ball didn't.
Jets are out of timeouts. Empty backfield. 5 receivers deployed for Testaverde. 4th and goal at the 5.
Man-to-man with 2 safeties helping deep, 1 on each side.
Quarterback strike. He dives in for the touchdown. One official called it. Another official has waved him off. So now you've got a conflicting view on the field. The far sideline official raised his hands and signaled touchdown. And that's what they called.
That play essentially kept the Seahawks out of the playoffs that year, which it actually in the long run turned out for a good thing because Dennis Erickson got fired after that season, and then Mike Holmgren took over the next year. But the Seahawks would have broken, I think, a long playoff drought if they had won that game or at least been in position to later on in that season. But yeah, that was one of my first childhood memories of watching football, being like, that's wrong, Dad. That's wrong. Fix this.
You had a couple people on the Mac and Jack's text line, actually, Curtis, that had that one as theirs, too. And I also saw a few people that had mine. I am going to only a couple years ago. So you guys took a look at some just that stood out from your childhoods. I took a look at one that, was maybe the first time I went full conspiracy theory, and I thought, they want LA, this West Coast bias. This is the first time I went full conspiracy theory and was like, oh, this is what it's like when you kind of lose your mind on a play. It was, of course, the 2019 NFC Championship game between the New Orleans Saints and the Rams. You guys already know where I'm going with this one. You're under 2 minutes left in regulation. Drew Brees throws a pass to Tommy Lee Lewis. Clear defensive pass interference by Rams DB Nickel Roby-Coleman.
Quick snap. Brees. Pass is incomplete. No flag for Tommy Lee Lewis. Crowd's going crazy as there's no flag right on the Saints sideline.
Well, if Nickel Roby-Coleman plays the ball, it's an interception. It's probably going the other way with it. I mean, the ball's on the other side of Roby-Coleman.
Now, this was a very, very, very clear instance, egregious instance of defensive pass interference. And I had an era of being a Saints fan. I don't know why. There was an era where I was a Saints fan, and so I've seen them and the Vikings as being just kind of unlucky. Consistently, when I was slightly younger, consistently good or competitive at times, but just unlucky, big heartbreak losses. This was a Saints team that I thought they could go to a Super Bowl. They really could. And this changed the fabric of that game. Maybe they don't end up going, but this should have been called.
Yeah, should have been called. That's when I imagine as referees, you're trying not to get in the way of the game, but in that moment you have to get in the way of the game and just call what you're seeing. Not to knock any of you guys' worst call, but I think Morgan and Linwood has the best one.
Oh.
Worst call I've seen Hawks cutting bump. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Give me one more year, dang it.
The no call on the Rams for that DPI was another popular one. 2005 Super Bowl collectively was probably the most popular answer on the Mac and Jack's text line. Super Bowl 40, obviously, notoriously one of the worst called Super Bowls. We all know what happened, but yeah, fun segment. Love Throwback Thursday. We'll see what we do next week. Getting back to the Mariners with Seattle Times' Ryan Divish next.
Blue 88 on Brock and Saul.
Rule changes in the NFL. What should we expect?
Every day at 7:45.
Roger Goodell is going to finally lose the chain gang. One of the things that the USFL that I have been around has actually used and employed the last couple years is Hawkeye technology. There's going to be no more of this. Bring the chains out. Is it an inch short? Is it 6 inches? Nope. You will see that technology employed next year. I strongly believe that.
Blue 88 answering 3 football questions as only Brock Heward can.
Let's talk about your hair. Well, maybe after we talk about my hair. I've got great hair, as you know, and it's because of Advanced Hair. Yep, Advanced Hair Restoration. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results that I can attest to. Guys, it's not magic, but it's close to it. They put hair where you need it most, and bam, it grows. It's actual science. Advanced Hair has top-rated physicians, modern technology, and best of all, you get your very own natural hair that begins to regrow the very next day. It's even guaranteed to grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now at 425-449-8185. Mention Curly to qualify for $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. It's a limited time offer. Advanced Hair, the winner of the 425 Business of the Year, and the team that gave me my hair back. More importantly, they'll do the same for you, guaranteed. 425-449-8185 or advancedhair.com.
In between storms, have Asset Roofing inspect your roof just to make sure everything is okay up there. It's Bob Stelton here for Asset Roofing. It's a quick appointment that will most likely give you peace of mind and save you thousands of dollars later. Remember, you're either hiring a liability or you're hiring an asset. Head to AssetRoofingCo.com. That's AssetRoofingCo.com.
Certified work that's never in doubt. Asset Roofing, excellence is on the house.
The Seattle Golf Show, Friday, February 7th and Saturday the 8th at the Seattle Convention Center has 100 exhibits. Buy tickets online and get up to 4 rounds of golf and get free balls while they last at the door. Shop the huge Putts Golf Sale. Kids under 12 are free. VIP tickets at SeattleGolfShow.com.
Lowe's knows how to help you save time and money, no matter the job. That's why we can deliver supplies to your job site as soon as same day, so you have more time to get the job done. Because when you need it fast, we've got you covered. Lowe's knows pros. Valid on eligible in-stock orders and select zip codes placed by 2 p.m. for same-day delivery by 8 p.m. Subject to driver availability. Fees vary based on purchase. More terms apply. See Lowe's.com/same-day delivery for details.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check that your seats aren't in the visitor section first before buying tickets.
I'm so excited for this game. I can't believe you got us tickets.
Me too. Wait, are we on the wrong side?
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
This is going to be a long game.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
If you love designer brands and you love clearance, then you're going to love this. Macy's is having a huge designer clearance event right now with incredible new designer markdowns on cold weather styles from BCBG, Hugo Boss, Michael Kors, and more. How big are the markdowns? How about Coach boots for $200 or less? So if you're looking for the things you love all in one place, come in and shop the designer clearance event at Macy's today. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Your favorite Seattle sports show is available anywhere you go through the Seattle Sports app. Brought to you by Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center Proton Therapy. Full shows and interviews, exclusive video and articles from the home of the Seahawks and Mariners.
Sherry, what have you done to your hair?
What do you mean? Does it not look good?
It doesn't look good. It looks freaking amazing. I can't believe how thick and healthy it looks. Oh, I must know your secret.
No secret. It's hair volume from New Nordic.
Hair volume, huh? Well, it certainly lives up to its name. Your hair has never looked so thick. It is gorgeous.
I was so tired of having thin and brittle hair. Ugh, and the shedding. So I figured I'd give hair volume a try. Needless to say, I'm thrilled with the results. Hey, where are you going?
I'm going to pick up some hair volume right now. My reunion's next month, and I want my hair to look as good as yours.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural health products from New Nordic, the #1 supplier of dietary supplements in Scandinavia. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or your local CVS. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy. Help your hair look full, voluminous, and beautiful again at nordicUSA.com or CVS.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Horrible news out of D.C. yesterday. Obviously, 14 U.S. figure skaters also among the victims of an American Airlines plane crash. That flight collided with a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter late yesterday evening in D.C. U.S. Figure Skating said in a statement, quote, "We are devastated by this unspeakable tragedy and hold the victims' families closely in our hearts. We will continue to monitor the situation and will release more information as it becomes available."
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Getting back to the Mariners with Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times. He joins us now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Hey, Ryan, how's it going?
Good. How you guys doing?
Fantastic, though a little curious. I'm looking at this list of infielders, and I'm wondering who's playing where. Can you tell me who you think the Mariners are rolling out at first, second, and third? Because I can't for the life of me figure it out.
Well, I think right now they'll roll out Luke Raley and Donovan Solano in some kind of platoon, modified platoon at first base. Shortstop is J.P. Crawford. I know that one. And then the other two spots are a little different. I expect Dylan Moore to be the third baseman as of now. Like if I look at the roster and what they have, I expect Dylan Moore to be the third baseman. And then some combination at second base of Ryan Bliss, Leo Rivas, kid named Miles Mastrobuoni that they picked up from the Cubs, any one of the utility infielders. So it's like if you're a utility infielder that can play second and third, you might have a chance on the Mariners. And I do think like they may add one guy to fill one of those spots that's like a little more established, that they can do it that way. But right now, this is what they have. If I had to do a roster projection, I'm putting Dylan Moore at third base and Bliss and those guys at second and third, or second base.
Ryan, thanks for sorting that out for us. We're sitting there scratching our heads trying to figure out what the heck is going on. What are your first impressions of that lineup out there, those guys out there on the diamond? Potentially, I should say.
I would say underwhelming. It's not like I don't think they're good players, but we had expected them to add, and what they did is they added one player, like a 37-year-old utility player that isn't very good at defense. And so, to me, that's an issue. Like, I'm not, Dylan Moore is a nice utility player, but he's not an everyday player. We kind of proved that in 2020 when he tried to play second base. Ryan Bliss is a nice prospect, but we saw some swing and miss flaws in the times that he did come up. I know there were a few people clamoring that he should play every day, but I think he got exposed a little bit. I'm sure he's worked on that this offseason, but I just think it's underwhelming. Like Donovan Solano is a nice piece to add if you sign somebody else. Like if you added an established third baseman, or if you were able to complete a trade for Nico Horner, adding Donovan Solano as like an extra piece to your roster is a good signing. He's a good player. But when that's your only signing thus far, yeah, I can understand why fans are angry.
You're right, in that fans are really angry, and I think when I've mentioned, I'm surprised that they haven't added anyone else, I've seen a few responses of, I don't know why you're surprised at all, to which I don't take personally at all, but I think I wanted to kind of flip that as a question to you, and I'll say, not just are you surprised, but is what we've seen this offseason in line with like where the Mariners should be? Because Ryan, I'm surprised because they say that they're contending and they've painted it as being contenders. Dipoto likes making trades, likes making moves. I did expect more than this.
Yeah, I'm surprised in the sense that like there have been so minimal moves. Even like in all those years, Jerry loves to play on the peripheral parts of the 40-man roster and pick up guys or make trades. I think they're in a spot where prospects aren't as valued, and I wrote about this a little, I think earlier this week, just about, or I think it was Sunday maybe. They just, so many teams are trying to contend. They don't want to give up major league talent for prospects. Like, prospects are valued. The Mariners farm system, according to The Athletic, ranks #1. It's great. It's good value, and it's really good to have these prospects to help them out down the road. But right now, in this moment where they need to fill spots on their big league roster, the prospects aren't helping them because they can't trade. There's only, two teams that are really kind of, selling and trying to start over: the White Sox and the Marlins. The Rockies probably should be, but they haven't. And then the rest are all trying. The thing is you look at what the Rangers and Diamondbacks did a few years ago. That's a huge deal that they were able to kind of go from losing records to the World Series in the span of like a year. The Royals lost 56 games in 23 and then made the postseason and won 87, or only won 56 games in 23, then won 88 games last year, made the postseason. So I think a lot of people believe with the extra wild card, they can stay in it longer, and that's a big deal for them. So that's why it's hurt the Mariners. There isn't a team like the Pirates that wants to dump somebody. Even teams like the Twins and Brewers who are trying to cut payroll a little bit are finding ways to do it without getting rid of talent where they can still compete. Even the Rays, we just saw that. Ha-Sung Kim, they signed Ha-Sung Kim to a deal. The Rays, you automatically think they're going to dump players, but they aren't. And that's been a problem for the Mariners.
Ryan, you pointed out like the value of prospects isn't what it used to be, and I compared it to as like varsity coaches in high school looking at that 8th grade group saying, "Oh man, in 3 or 4 years we're gonna have a good ball club." Is there anyone that you feel like is the closest to being ready out of that group in the top 100?
Well, Harry Ford isn't in the top 100. I don't think in a lot of rankings anymore, but he's obviously the closest. Like if there was an injury to a catcher, I think we could see him. He'll be in AAA. Is my guess to start the season. So that means he's close. Cole Young obviously is going to be at AAA as well. At least that's their plan that they've said. That he'll be at AAA, so he's a call away. I guess if Cole Young came into camp and did what Julio did a couple years ago, they could put him on the roster. I'm not expecting that. I feel like Julio was a little more advanced coming in physically too, was more prepared to handle a situation, but everything about Cole Young, what makes him good is the maturity, the swing, all that kind of stuff. Sure, he could come in and compete for the second base. I'm sure that's what they're telling him. But no, I don't look at any of those position players as guys that are major impact. Laz Montez, a couple years away. Colt Emerson still hasn't played a full season of baseball due to injury. Johnny Farmelo has been injured. So, they have a lot of potential, but it's just that, it's potential. It's like, Bump, I'm sure you remember, and I remember thinking back to when I had to cover the Huskies for a year and a half, and besides Sark and I never getting along one day of our lives, I hated recruiting because, like, prospects and recruiting, it's a lot of fans are just obsessed with potential, but potential doesn't win now, and that's the problem that the Mariners are at. Everything about them is potential to be successful. Even if you look at the Major League roster, the potential to be successful is based on the idea that J.P. Crawford has a bounce-back season and Julio has his normal season and not what he did last year. And Victor Robles is something closer to what he was last year versus what he's been his whole career. It's all potential on their offense instead of having depth to offset if guys have a bad season. That's what happened to them last year. So many guys had bad seasons and they didn't have anybody around to help pick up the slack. Well, this year they lost a bunch of guys, and they're looking at two major infield positions where you're looking to either use a prospect or a utility guy, and that's just an issue that you don't expect for a team that has kind of their situation. I mean, like, they have a solid stadium, they draw fans, they have two owners as part of the ownership group that are billionaires, and yet they're not spending the money to even make it marginally better on the, like, you're not spending even a little bit to make it marginally better. And granted, these guys aren't a little bit, they aren't just costing a little bit, but the problem is they didn't do anything last offseason really in spending. They had to rearrange all that money, and the year before that, like, coming out of the playoff season, you felt like, okay, here's the moment where they put their foot on the gas and try and add some stuff and spend some money and go. And they didn't. That was the Tommy LaStella offseason. And then last season, yeah, they had a lot of pieces, but they also had to subtract a lot of major league pieces to get to restructure the roster. You just don't think of a team in this situation doing that.
How much of this is, to you, Ryan, a philosophical issue with how the Mariners spend or their comfort level with spending, and how much of it is new context we have about what could happen in 2026 with the CBA? You've got, regional broadcasting issues. Like, right, how much of the context do you lean into around the Mariners, and then how much of it do you point to them and go, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of uncertainty with their RSN deal, and there's a lot of uncertainty with the CBA and how it's going to affect teams moving forward. But at the same time, like, there is a certainty in that you can invest in your team and try and win before all that happens. That's the problem, is they didn't invest in this team like they should have in the past 2 years so that they could have won. They could have done something more than they did. I mean, they don't. I remember Jerry DiPoto said, is like, from 22 to last season, they missed out on going to the playoffs every year by a total of 4 or 5 games. And you think, oh, well, they're close. Yeah, they're close. They're close without doing enough, without supplementing enough. That should be more frustrating. That shouldn't be a positive. Like there are no moral victories in pro sports. Mm-hmm. You want to win, you have to invest. And I think that's been my biggest criticism of the ownership group, of this new ownership group, is that they talk a lot about wanting to win, and they talk about World Series and stuff. At the end of the day, they don't do enough. They don't invest enough personally into it to win. And until that mindset changes, it's never going to happen. It just isn't. I mean, like, instead, they're playing on the margins of the 54% philosophy of Jerry. Like, well, if you're just good every year, one year you'll have the anomaly season. Well, why not raise the bar instead of 54%? Why not raise the bar by investing in your team and winning 68% of the time, or 65% of the time, or 60% of the time? Raise that bar so that instead of having the one-off really 95 win season, you have multiple in that 10-year span. And I think that's what people didn't understand about what DiPoto said, and the jokes that people make are so awful, and they make me want to just poke my eyes out with a dull spoon. But, like, the understanding, that kind of mentality of just being good for 10 consecutive years and hopefully having some one-offs and all that other stuff, that plays to the ears of owners that don't want to spend. Whereas, like, if you're the Phillies and you look at last year and go, look, we invested all this to win, what are we going to do to get better? Like, they're coming out and saying, oh, we almost won, isn't what you need to say at the end of the season. It's like, no, we didn't win. We didn't make the playoffs. That's unacceptable given what we have. And we're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that doesn't happen again. We've never heard that in that regard, that, it's like, oh, no, we're just building. This is patience. Also unacceptable to have the results they've had the last few seasons. And a mindset that is, you'll do whatever it takes to make sure it doesn't.
Oh, we might have lost. Oh, no.
Man, he was getting in there. He was getting in there.
Was cooking.
I was going to ask him, man, is this like they're trying to make a Disney magical season, right? Like a season that has all these storylines of underdogs overachieving and the coach Dan Wilson just being the players guy.
No, big baseball came in. They were like, "Shut him up, shut him up, shut him up."
Like, cut. But no, it's the jacked up part about when we talk to Ryan. I feel like the last. Are we bringing him back? Or we keep going.
Looks like we got Ryan back. Ryan, do we have you back here?
Yeah, I mean, technology, it's a little weird here.
Ryan, I was just talking about how I feel like, man, this is my third season, I feel like, with Stacy. And every time we talk, it feels like the same story, right? I'm trying to listen and get something new out of you. And there isn't anything new because it feels like the approach has been consistent. Is there anything that they've done that's a bit different than what we're used to seeing from them? Or do you feel like this is a repeat of the last couple off seasons?
No, it's been the same. I mean, I think they're more willing to trade prospects this offseason, but, there isn't those trades. No, it's been the same. It's the same thinking, the same mindset. And I don't think it's necessarily a mindset that Jerry Dipoto wants to have. It's a mindset that he has to adopt. It's like you said, when you're coaching football and you might want to run power I and go hard, and you have a bunch of linemen that are 5'2" and 97 pounds, or a bunch of undersized linemen, you're going to have to spread it and go. Like, Dipoto is adapting to whatever the budget is given to him. If they gave him, 35 extra million on a budget, he would do something vastly different. I mean, we saw that. They signed Albert Pujols to a $200 million contract when he was with the Angels, and $75 million to C.J. Wilson. He's not afraid to sign free agents, but from the time that he's been here, there's never been an abundance of cash for him to do that. I mean, when he was hired after the 15 season, he was told that had minimal payroll to work with. That's why he made so many of the trades on the margins, is because he was trying to restructure a roster without spending much money to do it. And since then, I mean, really, they've only decreased payroll. They've never increased, and then they did the step back, and they have never really, they've never gotten back to the season of 2016. I think it was 175 million, maybe, or is that 18? One of those years they were at 175 million. They've never gotten back to that. And really, the overall average payroll for teams has grown to north of that, but they just aren't doing it. They don't believe that they need to do that to have success. I would argue that it gives you more options to have success if you increase it, even if you don't want to, or even if you may set it one way and you look out the market and say, okay, we can't get better because we're limited to what we can do, and you have to readjust and say, okay, well, then we'll reinvest more. I mean, it's like I said, at some point, it just has to be unacceptable for what has transpired the last few seasons, because the time is running out. These other guys are getting more expensive, Or is it going to be a series? Is Cal Raleigh going to look around when he's a free agent a few years from now, never, been to one playoffs, and looks at this organization and says, well, they're not doing enough to win. Why would I want to stay here? I can go see Buster Posey, who went to Florida State and is a Hall of Fame catcher. I can go see him and go down to San Francisco. What is Logan Gilbert or George Kirby? Like, the guys that truly want to win a World Series, they have to look around and say, am I going to do it here, or do I want to be like Kyle Seager and Felix Hernandez, never even sniff the playoffs? That's what they have to ask themselves.
Yeah. Ryan, before we let you go, what do you got coming up here for the Times?
I'm going to do a projected roster.
Best of luck.
Roster, which is pretty easy. I mean, there hasn't been any moves.
Yeah.
Add these pieces in here. Just kind of what to watch for at spring training, and then Adam Jude is going to do something on kind of who to watch at spring training, I believe. Just kind of that stuff, and then kind of go from there. I mean, I think in the coming days, I'm hoping they kind of announce what they're going to do with the broadcast team. I've heard kind of what's going to happen, but waiting for them to kind of announce it, because we don't have any of the details, but that's kind of important. I think people care. Fans never get more angry than debating about announcers, so stuff like that I'm hoping here in the next couple of days. And I get down to spring training on February 12th, so I'm looking forward to 75-degree weather.
I'm guessing the stuff you've heard about broadcasting you're not allowed to tell us yet. We gotta.
I mean, I've only heard kind of generalities now. I haven't heard anything set.
Yeah.
And so it's it's like you kind of hear it secondhand, third hand, and so it's I don't want to, I think the people that I talk to know what they're talking about, but then again, I don't want to come on here and be wrong.
Fair.
I'm wrong enough as it is. I don't need, I don't need to be videoed here and all that. So, sorry about the internet connection. It's Havre, Montana. We just got Wi-Fi like a couple of years ago.
Last week. You in Utah. Best in the biz, Seattle Times reporter Ryan Divish. Ryan, thank you so much.
Thanks,
we appreciate
Ryan.
it, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's get to a very, very quick 4-down territory.
This is 4-down territory. Going inside the game with former Seahawks and Coug wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
First down, what game plan from the 2024 season do you feel, if continued, would have given Mike McDonald what he was looking for?
I'm telling you, it's a game plan, but it only starts in the first 2 series. So we're only going to do 2 downs right now. And first down is going to be the first series, and second down is going to be the second series. Go back and watch the Minnesota Vikings game and how they opened that thing up. The first drive was a 3-and-out, and I know we're used to seeing this team not scoring touchdowns on that first drive, but it was the best 3-and-out I've seen, Stacy. And the reason why, on first down, you're under center. You got double tight ends to the right. JSN is in motion from right to left. You pull the tight end in like a zone lead, and boom, K9 rips off 6 yards. Second down, you're under center again. You got a tight end attached on the right side with the wide receiver, 2 receivers on the other side. You got a wide zone look. Kubiak, wide zone look. K9 just doesn't give it enough time to develop. The rule is you take about 5 steps to the side you're going before you look for the cutback. K9, like most people have said all year, he looked for the cutback right now, but you're showing him the wide zone. Third down, there's a false start, so now you're backed up. All right, so third down again, you tried to hit JSN. You're in shotgun now. You went under center, ran the football twice, shotgun. You have to throw it on third down. You miss JSN down the middle. So you're setting stuff up. That was a 3-and-out, but it was a good 3-and-out. This is what McDonald is looking for.
Second down. Well, Bum, tell me about the second drive against the Vikings defense.
All right, the second drive, how it went down, they went 7 plays, about 87 yards, and scored a touchdown. Let's walk through it, right? You're under center with two tight ends. You get a trap look, okay? Trap look, like you're trapping down on the one technique. You wrap around, boom. 11-yard gain by K9. Now you're under center, and you got a balanced 2 tight end look. That means they're close to the line of scrimmage. You're under center. Then you release vertically down the field. The linebackers bite. The reason why is because you're under center. You're showing that you're going to run the football. The linebackers bite up. Boom, you hit the seam. 17-yard gain. Next one, your shotgun, your balance. You got JSN in motion. The second time we've seen that motion. He motioned to the right side. You got a bubble screen to K9. You show him the motion twice. You show him the zone. You show him some trap look on with the offensive line. All right, the linebacker false steps. Why? Because you play action. You give him the bite. Boom, there's space over there. All right, so now you go under center again. All right, your Geno slides the protection to his right. You got an option route by Jake Bobo. Linebackers are confused now. They're under center. They don't do this. They run the football. What are we doing? You find Jake Bobo. The play action helps once again. Now you're in shotgun, 2-by-2 formation. The tight end, who is connected to the line of scrimmage, he's been battling this DN. He's battling and he's releasing. So now he battles, he chips, he releases to the flat this time. All right, he releases to the flat. He gets the football. You got a big game right there. 2 more plays, Stacy. You're under center. You got tight formation. We've seen the jet sweep twice, right? We saw it twice. Boom. Now they give it to JSN. They give it to JSN. It's not a big game, but now you're showing them, look, we will fake it. We will fake it. We will give it to him. And finally, to top it all off, they're in trips bunch to the left side. K9 swings to the bunch side, get him that bubble look that you showed already. We're connecting plays now, okay? DK's isolated on the backside of that thing, something I said Kubiak likes to do. You show him everything you showed him all game, or 2 series so far, and guess what? You got a 1-on-1 matchup on the backside with DK Metcalf, up top, 25-yard touchdown. He connected the plays. I'm watching it last night. I go, Grub,
where'd it go?
You doing this, baby? You still here? Let's go get it. So I think that's what he's thinking Kubiak is going to do. A lot of things that we've seen Kubiak do on film, Grubb did on those 2 drives, man. And I think that if he would have just kept the good times rolling, man, that would have been awesome.
Thank you again to Ryan Divish for joining us to start this hour. A longer interview with Ryan. Really good stuff on the Mariners. If you missed it, it'll kick off hour 2 of the Bump and Stacy podcast, which is posted around 3 p.m. every single weekday. Coming up next in the timeline, a hot take from Cam Newton had everyone up in arms this morning. Plus, at 11:45, Bump has a theory on why Caitlin Clark isn't participating in the NBA's three-point shootout. That's next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
This is the one, the only skipper of your Seattle Mariners, Dan Wilson.
These guys are really excited. They are really wanting to get to that postseason, and there's a strong desire to get there. There's a strong desire to raise their standards and do what it takes to get there. And, all that starts in a week and a half or so, and that's what's exciting about spring training is getting started on that long journey.
Hear the rest of this interview on demand at seattlesports.com and on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
Matt Coker here with West Coast Men's Health. In the past 5 years, we've seen thousands of men at our clinics. Most guys tell us the same story, that in their early 50s, it's not that they couldn't function, they just needed help. They started taking Viagra, and it worked great at first. But after a few years, it stopped working. The problem is that their arteries had become more restricted since they started taking it, because Viagra does not unclog arteries. Here at West Coast Men's Health, we use acoustic wave therapy to target the real problem. We break down plaque and clear up the arteries so blood can flow like it did in your 20s. This restores function. And guys, listen to this. You won't have to take a pill anymore. So if this sounds like you, give West Coast Men's Health a call today and see how we can help.
With clinics in Redmond and Tacoma, call 206-519-6541. That's 206-519-6541. 206-519-6541. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com.
Discover LeMay, America's car museum in Tacoma. Explore 300 world-class cars, 100 years of history, and the Shinga exhibit with 50 iconic Japanese sports cars. Thrilling race simulators and fun for the whole family. Visit americascarmuseum.org.
This might be the most surprising statistic I've shared in decades of doing local news. More than 75% of commuters will be involved in a car accident at some point. JP Pendergast of Pendergast Law with more.
What makes it more surprising? The average person will be involved in 3 to 4 collisions in their lifetime.
With accidents unbelievably prevalent, what are some safety tips if it happens to you?
Safety first. Secondary collisions are not uncommon while awaiting help. Turn on those hazards and remain in a safe place. If a bystander witnessed the accident, capture their information and encourage them to remain at the scene. Seek medical attention immediately if needed, as delaying can be a costly mistake. Lastly, remember that statements made to police and insurance adjusters can affect your case.
Collisions are more common than we'd like to think. If you find yourself in one, follow these helpful tips and then call my friends at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one's injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
PendergastLaw.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. Every day, ZipRecruiter helps people who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Fabric Talk. Hello, my love. I am your living room carpet. I see everything. I feel everything. After a while, I smell like everything, including Sir Pickles, who you snuggle with while binging that dating show you can't stop watching. So, how about we freshen things up with Febreze Fabric Spray? Oh, and a big spray for my pals, couch and ottoman. Ah, yes, refreshing. Breathe happy, Febreze. La 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 la.
Stream every Seattle sports show with the Seattle Sports app. Brought to you by Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center Proton Therapy. Get new videos, podcasts, and articles on Seahawks and Mariners from your favorite Seattle sports personalities daily.
Headed outdoors or on the water this weekend? Check in with Joey and Nellie on the Outdoor Line from 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday on seattlesports.com.
Got neighbors? Big Trees can help. This is Nancy Penrose, owner of Big Trees in Snohomish. If you've been considering planting trees to add privacy, look no further than Big Trees. Privacy trees fill in empty spaces, help to define property lines, and add curb appeal. Learn more about Big Trees' big supply of privacy trees at bigtreesupply.com.
Beauty, privacy, instantly. Big Trees.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here, and it's always fun to talk about what our teams in town need to do to get a little bit better. But what about us? I, just like everyone else listening, could always get a little better at something. Well, what if it's something as important as becoming healthier? I was in that position just a couple years ago when I first reached out to Eastside Weight Loss Clinic with a phone call. It only took 15 minutes. That's all. And during that phone call, I learned all about the Eastside Weight Loss Clinic plan and how it would help me not only lose weight, but keep it off. Well, what I found most interesting was the how. I'm not interested in pills or injection. That stuff just scares me. No, thank you. I was looking for a healthy plan which allowed me to lose weight naturally. Now, a big perk was I could still eat really good food and not have to exercise to make it happen. It worked for me, and I got a feeling it will work for you as well. Take 15 minutes today and call Eastside Weight Loss Clinic and just find out. You can find them at eastsideweightlossclinic.com or call 425-588-0080. That's eastsideweightlossclinic.com. Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
Overburdened with a bunch of stuff you don't want anymore, but feel bad throwing it away? John here with Happy Hauler, Seattle's eco-friendly junk removal. We prioritize donating and recycling. We'll help get your items to those in need instead of going to the landfill. At Happy Hauler, we pride ourselves on responsibility, community, and sustainability. We're a family-run small business that provides junk removal, donations, and recycling. Make yourself, your community, and the planet happy. It's time to reclaim your space. HappyHauler.com, hauling with a heart.
This is The Timeline
with Bump and Stacy.
Brought to you by 1-800-DUI-OA.
It is The Timeline on Bump and Stacy, taking a look around the sports world at the top trending stories today. We're going to start with one making the rounds about Cam Newton. On today's First Take, Cam said he wouldn't give up his 2015 MVP trophy if it meant he got a Super Bowl ring.
If you could give back that league MVP for a Super Bowl championship, would you do it?
No.
Oh.
Really?
Really?
Wow.
Because you have to ask it through this lens. That was a very journalistic viewpoint or vantage point or response, Stephen A. I'll ask you this question, and, just to pose this thought. What's more important, impact or championships? You look at a guy like Allen Iverson, or you stood up on the table and blah, 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 blah. Everybody's not going to be Michael Jordan. Everybody's not going to be Patrick Mahomes. Everybody's not going to be these individuals who have the luxury of saying, hey, I not only dominated this sport, but I also have championships to back it.
I see the dots he is laying out, and yet, Bump, I cannot connect them.
Yeah, it was a tough one. Yeah, I watched this go down live. I'm on a treadmill getting my steps in, and I'm watching this, and I go, all right, he says no. He's going to come up with a good answer, right? And it's almost like he's so close to hitting why he wouldn't, but then the bridge is never built. It's like you stop building the bridge, we didn't have the funds no more. We don't have the funds for the bridge. You're just going to stay on this side. I think what he was trying to say that he's so proud of his individual impact on the football season that he felt like, and the clip is long, they talk for like 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, I have another piece of it.
So eventually it kind of gets to, look, I don't think, I'm reading between the lines, he doesn't think his team was capable of winning a Super Bowl. So he's putting himself on that team in that year and saying, look, that team wasn't capable, but I did my job and what I was supposed to do. So Stephen A. asking him, would you trade it in for a Super Bowl, means that he didn't have the individual year that he would have. And it doesn't surprise me that Cam thinks like that. He seems like a guy who cares a lot about himself.
Yeah.
Ego. You should have an ego if you are a ball player. And then Ryan Clark? I don't know who the other guy was. No, it was McCourty. McCourty comes in and says, well, there's going to be 53 guys on the roster who can claim that Super Bowl. He goes, there are guys on the Super Bowl teams that he was on that didn't contribute at all.
Yeah.
But they're claiming the Super Bowl. So having an individual season like that is significant. There are going to be 53 guys every single year that wins a Super Bowl, and a lot of them have really nothing to do with it. You do it in a smaller scale, but on the bigger scale, no one's going to remember you. When you win an MVP, there's only one guy every single year that wins the MVP. So it's all contingent on your greatness and how you view it. Me personally, if I were a quarterback, I would love to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback rather than just an MVP type quarterback.
So I saw it the same way you did, where I was like devoid of the context of the position we're talking about, the player we're talking about. If you were to ask any player, like, yeah, I do actually think that like 99% of players would say they'd want a Super Bowl ring and all the bonuses and incentives that come with getting to and winning a Super Bowl. But what Cam is saying, yes, is like that individual award recognizes that he made a massive contribution, and he's very proud of him doing his own job. He's like, I did my job. It shows I did my job that season. I get it. However, in the context of just Cam Newton And just that 2015 season and that Super Bowl loss to the Broncos, I think that if he were to be runner-up for MVP, he didn't get MVP, but won a Super Bowl, I think it drastically changes the way people talk about Cam Newton. Because we're not idiots. We know that the Carolina Panthers were in a Super Bowl in large part because of Cam Newton, that he basically carried his team there. It's not that he didn't have talent around him, but he did not have as much talent as some of the other teams in the league that were also playoff teams. And so the story then becomes almost cooler than an MVP. It becomes, Cam threw and ran his way to a Super Bowl win, and he would always have that to fall back on. You could say whatever you want about Cam Newton, but he'd always say, but he won a Super Bowl.
You know what quarterback I remember for the Panthers? Jake Delhomme. Lost in the Super Bowl, but because he put his team in that position, right, he was a few points away from winning it. And we will remember Jake Delhomme. He also pointed out, he had some good points. He pointed out, like, look, Trent Dilfer got a Super Bowl. He didn't do anything. All these guys.
Sure.
So I think he takes so much pride in his craft and what he does that the team aspect of winning a Super Bowl is minimized to him. And, he's more of a selfish type of person, and that's fine. You do you. You've had success doing that, and you know that about Cam. Like, look at the way he celebrates and how he talks and stuff. Like, it fits his personality to a T.
It does. All right, next story here. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver says that he's considering shortening games from 12-minute quarters to 10 minutes to match the college and international games.
As we get more involved in global basketball, the NBA is the only league that plays 48 minutes. And I am a fan of 4 10-minute quarters. I'm not sure that many others are. Putting aside what it means for records and things like that, I think that a 2-hour format for a game is more consistent with sort of modern television habits. I don't think people in arenas aren't asking us to shorten the game, but I think as a television program, being 2 hours, that's Olympic basketball is 2 hours. College basketball, of course, is
but
is
if
40
you
minutes.
like it, I'd say it has kind of a little bit of a push there.
Yeah, but it's such a dramatic change to the game. I mean, I think something like that would have to be talked more about.
What do you think about the potential of this happening?
Well, what are the advantages? It mimics the college game and the international game. That's cool. And I feel like the NBA has done a lot to include the international player. Like the way they call it an NBA game now with the fouls and all that stuff, I heard a theory by Gilbert Arenas, and I agree with him 100%. It was to make the European player more comfortable because they're not a more physical player, and you see the dominance that they have in the game now. Some of the best players in the game are European. So I listen to that, and it points to, okay, let's make them more comfortable. Also, it saves minutes on your body. I mean, 6 minutes a game, 82 games a year, you're saving 656 minutes right there. Yeah, that's a lot for an NBA player. The load management thing is crazy, but I think it also will affect the record books as well. We talked about the NFL and how they've been adding games and the records get bigger and bigger and bigger. You start taking away minutes in the NBA game, then no one's going to reach LeBron's all minutes played or points total. No one's going to have the same 3-point field goals made or whatnot. It reverses the record books.
The opposite of what happens in the NFL, where it's like, well, you have this additional game. Now you have an additional 2 games.
Exactly. So I'm not for it. I think that if there's anything, you do things to give players more opportunity to break records, not less opportunities to break records.
I mean, I think there's other things that the NBA should be concerned with fixing prior to shortening games from 12-minute to 10-minute quarters. Like load management is a big one. You got stars playing like 55, 60 games out of an 82-game schedule. You've got people complaining about the watchability of games where it's just threes and dunks. Like there's no more creativity in a lot of how offense is played. I just think this is so far down the list of things that the NBA needs to worry about that I don't think anybody's complaining about the length of the NBA game. I think the one thing they would complain about in terms of like when games do get stodgy is the final 2 minutes of a game where teams are calling timeouts, teams are intentionally fouling. It takes a half hour for those 2 minutes to run off the clock. That I think is something that they need to fix before just the whole length of a game.
The load management thing is tough though. They've done something to where you got to play X amount of games to get a certain amount of awards. I guess that's incentive. But who are we to tell a player, your knees ain't hurt, get up out there and play the game? I get it for the fans, though. That's the messed up part is you got to think about the fans. The load management is tough, man. I think they're trying, but like, what else can they do?
I know. From the fan perspective, it is I mean, Derek and I got tickets to a Blazers game to see Zion in person, and he wasn't playing that day. And he had played like the day before, so it's not like he was out with injury. It was a load management thing, I think, at the time. Like, I understand the point of view of fans going like, but when I buy tickets to go see my favorite team, the reason I'm going isn't even happening. I don't know. I understand it's not a perspective that matters at all to players, but it's one that I can kind of see. Like, it's one I kind of get when you're wondering, like, but this is kind of the reason I'm going. I don't know. It's a very entitled take. It certainly is. But
yeah, it's interesting.
I understand why.
But I
fans
agree,
feel that
Curtis.
way.
I mean, there's a bunch of things they could be focusing on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, the Tacoma Rainiers have hired Riley Pay as the team's new broadcaster, making her the first woman in Triple-A baseball history to handle play-by-play duties.
If any of y'all have watched Martin growing up, you know this. You go, girl. You go ahead and get it, man. I was talking to Curtis in the sports bit about this. Like, Seattle, I mean, if you want to see a different look in Kraken games, preseason Seahawks games, Rainier, like, if you want to see diversity for real, you come up to Seattle, and we got it all covered. I saw two black dudes breaking down a hockey game the other day. I'm like, oh, snaps. Let's get it. We out here.
Yeah, I think it's very, very cool. And I know there are a lot of people that think, like, what does it matter if she's qualified? Because I think it's very cool, particularly for young girls, to see job opportunities that they think they can get, right?
Yeah.
Like, I as someone, as a woman who doesn't typically see a lot of women in these roles, I think that it does shape who you think you want to be growing up, right? Like, I don't know how many young girls are believing that they're play-by-play broadcasters or that they're working in sports radio or that they're analysts, because you don't really see it a lot. You kind of just pretend what you see.
Yeah.
Now, that's just one take, right?
Yeah.
Maybe feel free to disagree with me, anyone, but I think representation sometimes is cool, particularly since she's very qualified. All right, last story, quick story. The Utah Hockey Club has given up trying to name their team the Yetis, and they're now down to 3 finalists: Utah Hockey Club, Utah Mammoth, or Utah, is it Wasatch?
I believe so.
Okay.
Wasatch Mountain Range, yeah.
Man, Yetis.
Yetis.
Yetis is perfect. If
Yeah,
not,
tell the Yeti Cooler Company to beat it.
right?
all
What are y'all doing?
Ow.
Sue us.
Spell
I
it
dare
differently,
you.
or I don't know. Do something, man.
No one thinks
we need
that's overlap. Like, no one is thinking
They can
that.
go in business together.
Come on.
Let's be great.
There's an opportunity there. Coming up next, Caitlin Clark will not participate in the NBA All-Star three-point shootout. The initial report was that she didn't like the format, but Bump has a different theory about what the WNBA star is trying to do here. That's next.
4 down territory, going inside the game with former Cougs and Seahawks wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
What part of football has changed, and do you like it?
2-point conversions. Like, we are chasing points. The game has changed. 2-point conversions and 4th downs. So we're seeing coaches dive into the data like a lot of people do with baseball. And I like it, and it is weird at the same time because I'm not used to seeing these 4th down conversions or attempts and these 2-point conversions.
4 down territory, every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bump and Stacy.
Hey, what's up? It's Michael Bumpus for Silver Reef Casino. It's getting cold out there. I have to start my car up before I get in it, man. Don't let the weather get you down. It's time for you to make some plans. You can make plans at Silver Reef Casino. The big game is February 9th, and they got you covered. Try something different. Silver Reef Casino is having a watch party, man. Watch the game with people who really care about the game and not just the commercial. Switch the food up, man. Auntie's casserole is overcooked. Don't worry about it. They got you covered. They got a buffet. You got a raffle. They're going to give you swag. Most importantly, you get to watch the football game. Pat Mahomes versus Jalen Hurts. Let's see who gets it. If you're interested, get your tickets at silverreefcasino.com. That's silverreefcasino.com. Also, you don't have to go anywhere after the game. They got great deluxe rooms with views of Mount Baker and the Sailor Sea. When you're done there, go downstairs. They got on-site dining. It's amazing. They got something for everybody. You can watch the game, go to your room and chill, and then check out some of these restaurants, man. If you are interested, visit silverreefcasino.com. That's silverreefcasino.com.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from...
We can be twinsies.
...to...
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom. Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
As of 9 a.m. this morning, our EV trucking company is officially in operation.
Andrew's zero-emission trucks are driving the transportation category forward.
We'll make driving safer, easier, and less stressful.
Now our technology needs to keep up with demand.
He needs to put pedal to the metal on hiring more software engineers.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
It's playoff time, and you can take full advantage by winning some cash playing daily fantasy football on Sleeper Picks. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money. And now, Sleeper has a special offer. New users just have to play $5 to get $55 in free entries. Download the Sleeper app today and use code SCORE and get $55 in free entries when you play $5. That's code SCORE. Must be at least 18 years old. Promo code, location, and other restrictions apply. Minimum deposit $25. See terms of use for details. Please play responsibly. Call 1-800-426-2537 for help.
Adam Schefter here with Vivid Seats. We've got some late-breaking news coming out of the stands. According to multiple sources, Vivid Seats fans are scoring rewards on every purchase and at a rapid pace. Obviously, these rewards are a game changer, and coupled with their MVP-worthy ticket selection, why get tickets anywhere else? Don't drop the ball this season. Shop with Vivid Seats and earn rewards on every ticket. And as the official ticketing partner of ESPN, Vivid Seats is offering you $20 off your first $200 ticket purchase with code Schefter. That's code Schefter.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
We are Seattle Sports, the home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Watch your favorite show live at seattlesports.com.
Is chronic pain beginning to make your everyday life a challenge? Then call Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD, with Eastside Pain and Regenerative Medicine. With over 30 years of experience, no one has more experience in pain medicine techniques and stem cell therapy than Dr. Nelson. And here's what a satisfied patient had to say.
Well, that seems to be a genetic thing. All the men on my dad's side of the family have bad backs. Since my mid-20s, it would swell up and I would lose range of motion, and it was very, very painful to stand or walk, and so I had to miss work. So he went in there and gave me the stem cell injection, and it's great now. I get to keep all my original equipment, if you will. No permanent loss of range of motion. In and out in a day. That's totally worth it. I couldn't recommend Dan Nelson more highly.
So don't let pain control your life. Consider stem cell therapy with Dr. Daniel Nelson, MD. Call 425-823-4000 today. That's 425-823-4000, or go to danielnelsonmd.com.
Hey, do you have a car sitting around just collecting dust? How would you like to turn that car into cash? Well, our friends at Wayscar Ford in Auburn have a program that's unmatched. They'll buy your car today. They'll pay up front for your car, but it gets even better. Once they resell your old car, they're going to share half their profit with you. How can they do it? The money they save by not traveling elsewhere to buy cars, auction fees, shipping expenses, as well as the travel expenses, all the money they save on those items is what allows them to offer this program. They'd much rather share that money with you than give it to outside services. And no, they're not going to offer you less for your car. In fact, they encourage you to shop around so you can compare for yourself. But if you can get the same or more money from Wayscar Ford for your car, get all your money right up front, and then once they resell your old car, get half the profit, why would you want to sell your car anywhere else? And it's only at Wayscar Ford in Auburn. 102 years, family-owned and operated in downtown Auburn. That's wayscarford.com.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
There was some excitement at the idea that Caitlin Clark could participate in the NBA's three-point shootout, but she's not going to. And the other day we talked about it a little bit in the timeline, and there was, some idea that, well, maybe the structure of the NBA's three-point shootout, maybe she doesn't want to do that. Maybe it's unfamiliar or puts her at a disadvantage. But you have a theory as to why she's not doing this. What are you thinking?
Yeah, yesterday I told her it's bigger than her, right? You have to put the WNBA on the map and continue the wave that you created and get more eyes out there. But it's clear now that she's trying to shift all of the attention to the WNBA All-Star Game, which happens in the summer. And I think last year was the highest rated game they had. It was right before the Olympics, so they scrimmaged the Olympic team, and then you had the WNBA All-Star team that played them, and it was competitive. And it was the biggest or the most viewed WNBA All-Star game because of the Olympics and the lead up to it. I don't think you get those numbers this year because the situation is different, but she wants to focus all the attention on the WNBA, which I get. I understand that. She's like the brand ambassador. She's the face of the league right now, even though there are a bunch of other great basketball players out there who are in the WNBA. And I say to that, I tip my cap and I go, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. But I also think that it would benefit them even more if she did do the three-point contest with Sabrina and Steph Curry or whatnot. And then while she's doing it, she's grabbing people in. You know, she has another opportunity to capitalize on who she is. Even if she goes out there and she don't perform well, which I doubt because shooting threes is what she does, right? You get more eyes on it. And even in your competition, like, look, man, WNBA is coming out in the summertime. Make sure you guys go out there and view that. Like, you have an opportunity to be a salesman for it. It's almost like I respect what she's doing because she doesn't want to give the NBA her services. Like, why do I need to be in the NBA All-Star game to promote? Just because that's just the bigger platform right now. I can see where she can have the notion of we shouldn't have to be with the men to promote us. But listen, that's how promoting works. Sometimes you just show up. You see the street team and stuff, man. We got a Seattle sports street team. We got a Seahawks street team. They just show up at places. I'm going to use your platform to promote what I'm doing, and hopefully I'll grab some of your viewers and they come and watch the game. So I respect it. I get what she's doing. I think that she's the leader in all of this, but I'm also thinking you might be missing out on a great opportunity to get your name out there even more and the women out there even more. So it's a catch-22. I think you can go either way with this, but I would use any opportunity to promote. It's like me coming up in the broadcasting game. Man, I jumped on everyone's platform. You go, oh, I can talk for 5 minutes? Cool, I'm going to talk on 5 minutes, and I'm going to send you to where I'm at. I'm going to go to this station. I'm going to talk here. I'm going to send you where I'm at. I'm going to hop on this show. I'm going to talk here. I'm going to send you to where I'm at. I think if she thinks of it like that, then she might see the value in it, but I respect her decision.
I think you're right. I think it's a really good theory. It's one that when you were talking about it, I was like, yeah, that checks out. That makes sense. It also makes me think of the weird situations that she has to navigate through. Like I'm putting myself in her shoes thinking, like, how would I navigate? It's like a weird politics kind of thing, getting into every decision she has to make, right? Like the fact that her not participating in the NBA All-Star three-point shootout, that you have a theory that's like, yes, that makes sense. And it was prompted in part by like difficult decisions or trying to get attention certain places. Like, what must it be like, do you think, for her to navigate? Like, what pressures is she facing right now?
It's
How
tough.
is she making these decisions?
She's one of one. She's literally like the LeBron of her era. And she's doing this in front of everybody. And who can she lean on? There's no one who's walked the path that she's walking right now who she can lean on for advice. Anybody who comes in the NBA for the next 20 years, you got to spend a year in college, and you come out and you have all these people you can talk to, starting with LeBron, people who've done exactly what you're doing. LeBron did it from high school, obviously, but the other guys who played 1 year in the league, and bam, you're out there. This is just her. She put in a great college career, greatest scorer of all time. You're in an era where you can get paid for your name, image, and likeness when you were in college, and now you're making this transition there. This is the most women's basketball I've watched since the league first started, when the Comets and the Sparks were going at it. It's she's in a tough place, and she has to do it her way. And that's why I don't think she should be criticized for anything that she does, because she has to do it her way. She's one of one.
Why do you think she takes so many arrows? Because she does. That, to me, is right now the most fascinating thing about Caitlin Clark. Yes, obviously she's an amazing player, and I wish that was all we talked about, but it's not, because the thing that is also part of Caitlin Clark's story right now is that she is simultaneously responsible for pushing the league forward while also taking more arrows than anyone else.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, what do you even do? I mean, your point about it's a catch-22, rock in a hard place, that's where she is all the time.
That's where she lives. The safest place for her, or I bet where she feels most comfortable, is just playing ball. And sometimes people wish you can just play ball. Charles Barkley used to say back in the day, I'm not a role model. Yeah, you kind of are, dog, whether you like it or not. If you are in the public, you're a role model. But I also want to highlight some young ladies who are coming up who I've enjoyed watching this year. If you're not familiar with the women's basketball game in college, here are a few names for you. The number one prospect, Juju Watkins out of USC. She's already making commercial for State Farm. great there. If you don't know Paige Beckers, I don't know where you've been. She's at UConn. She's been great. Hannah Hidalgo, who I've been introduced to this year, she's only 5'6" over there at Notre Dame. She is great. Lauren Betts, I'm from LA, so I watch her. She's at UCLA. She is great. Flajay Johnson, who actually we watched. There was a reality TV show.
Oh.
The Rap Game. And I watched it years ago with my kids. She was on the Rap Game as a kid, and now she's out there doing her thing. She's a rapper, and she also is killing it over there at LSU. And then there's one more. There's a young lady out of South Carolina who caught my eye the other day. Tihina Pau. She has that savage in her. So the women's game is on the rise.
Yeah.
And that's why I look at her and I tell her, do as much as you can for these young ladies too. So when they get their opportunity, they don't have to search as hard and go to all these platforms to try to get noticed. We're already tuning in to what they're doing.
All right, we're heading back to the NFL, talking Super Bowl, a little bit of Seahawks with NFL insider James Palmer next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Jake Heaps. We need Clint Kubiak info.
What would you say you learned the most being shoulder to shoulder with him in that difficult year where Nathaniel Hackett doesn't last the year?
There was so much chaos in that building. There can be a whole book written about that particular season. He was so steady-handed. That was something that I really was impressed by him. And Clint was very focused. He wasn't worried about the problems that existed. He was more focused on solving those problems.
Streaming on your smart speaker.
The Big Seattle Boat Show starts this Friday, January 31st.
The Boat Show, the Boat Show, the Big Seattle Boat Show.
It's the West Coast's biggest boat show with big selection, big discounts, and big fun for everyone. The Big Seattle Boat Show. It's a big deal.
The Boat Show, the Boat Show. If you got to cruise the boat show, you won't believe how cool it is to bring the family.
Presented by Sundance Yachts and Port of Seattle. Details and discount tickets at seattleboatshow.com.
Cougar basketball is back.
These guys want to get better at basketball. They want to go as hard as they can in the game. They want to get their education. They want to be around each other and build a real family.
Coach Riley and the Cougs are ready.
We put in so much work all of our lives for this exact moment.
We are Wazoo. It's only on your home for Cougar basketball.
Catch the Cougs all season long on AM 770 KTTH.
Paid for by government. Now is the time to fill your vault with Morgan Silver Bars. Grab your piece of America's silver legacy with this special offer. These spectacular shining silver bars featuring a crisp image of the iconic Morgan Silver Dollar, a legendary coin that has captivated collectors for generations. Call now to secure 1-ounce silver bars minted in 99.9% pure silver and made in the USA. Don't miss out on this special deal. Regularly priced at $49.95, but for a limited time, only $39.95. Save $10 per silver bar. Limit of 25 bars per customer. The more you buy, the more you save. Up to $250 in savings and free shipping on every order. Plus, with qualifying orders, you'll receive a free Morgan Silver Dollar. That's a $59.95 value free. Call 1-800-937-4707 now to secure your 1-ounce Morgan Silver Bars for only $39.95. That's 1-800-937-4707.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Our local tax expert Greg Nunn wants taxpayers to know the IRS is now going after older cases very aggressively. If you received Form CP-504 from the IRS, do not ignore it. Be proactive and resolve your situation with Greg Nunn, N-U-N-N, None Better Tax Resolution.
Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. The best place to watch all your favorite sports. Featuring wall-to-wall viewing screens, 6 windows, and 30 kiosks. Be there at emeraldqueen.com. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
Oh, please, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song.
I love these nachos.
I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy.
What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Hey, do you like spending extra money? Who doesn't, right? No, nobody does, and especially when it's on something like your utility bills, right? If those are noticeably higher in the winter or your home feels drafty, it could be because your attic and crawl space aren't properly insulated. It's Mike Salk here, and utility companies have special incentives to help with the cost of having your home properly insulated, including a once-in-a-lifetime rebate from Puget Sound Energy. So if you're a PSC customer and your home was built before 1990, you may qualify to receive a rebate on up to 95% of the cost to properly insulate your crawl space and attic. Yeah, they'll cover up to 95% of the cost. So don't wait. Take advantage of an incredible rebate today. Call Crawl Pros and learn what's going on behind that crawl space and attic hatch for free, and also what energy rebates you're eligible for. These guys are great. Did an awesome job at my house. So if you're worried about critters, mold, water damage, insulation issues, or anything else related to your crawl space or attic, schedule a free corner-to-corner inspection at crawlpros.com.
Bonneville, Seattle, and Seattle Sports are looking for organizations that regularly distribute information about employment opportunities to job applicants or have job applicants to refer. If your organization would like to receive notifications of job vacancies, please notify Human Resources at 1820 Eastlake Avenue East, Seattle, Washington 98102, or email us at seattlealljobs@bonneville.com or call 206-726-6902. Bonneville is an equal opportunity employer.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Kraken goalie Philip Grubauer has officially cleared waivers and went unclaimed. He's expected to report to Coachella Valley. Eagles defensive end Brandon Graham could play in Super Bowl 59. The Eagles opened the practice window for Graham, who tore his triceps in late November. At the time, it was believed the injury would end his season. He told reporters, "I've been working, man. We're going to see."
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
this is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Joining us now, NFL insider for Bleacher Report and Underdog Fantasy, James Palmer on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Hey, James, how's it going?
It's going well. You know, those soothing sounds of BG talking about maybe I can get back on the field. I was at that game when he tore his triceps at SoFi. It would be really fitting for Brandon Graham, maybe one of the most popular people in Philadelphia, to get a chance to play in this Super Bowl. It'd be pretty awesome for BG to probably close out his career if he can get on the field in a little over a week.
I could not believe that news. It was the same way I felt about Aiden Hutchinson potentially making it back were the Lions to go. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, these guys have ended their season. It's absolutely insane. Well, let's start with the Eagles, James, when we're previewing Super Bowl 59 here. An immensely talented team. Not surprised at all to see them in the Super Bowl. I'll start with, I guess, maybe the most important signing of the offseason in Saquon Barkley. I mean, just speak to what he's meant to this team and how he's led them there.
He's unbelievable. I mean, you pair him with an offensive line like Philadelphia has. I mean, you have an all-pro at right tackle, an all-pro at left tackle. You have a Pro Bowler at center and a Pro Bowler at left guard. I mean, that's pretty dang good to run behind. And we've seen what Saquon's done with obviously far less talented offensive lines. And I think it is a marriage, and that's why I bring them up. I mean, Jeff Stoutland as well is one of the best offensive line coaches this league has ever seen. So combine that with what Saquon has the ability to do. And I think Jamal Singleton is a great running back coach. So it was almost a perfect situation for Saquon to land in, and for them just to have the ability to have these explosive plays through the run game has been the part that's right. Like, you can control the game with the run game, but at the same time, the majority of their explosive plays the run game. So it makes them a really difficult team to defend. And Saquon, in my opinion, should be in that MVP conversation. I'm glad he actually is a finalist. We all know it's a quarterback award. Let's not joke with ourselves, sadly. But I'm glad he's a finalist, and what he's done to transform that team is just, he's taken a really good run team and put it in a level that we rarely see.
You know, it's when you talk about the Chiefs, the first thing you talk about is Pat Mahomes, and we get that. Stacy pulled out a stat the other day to where it was like, with game-winning opportunities, with a minute left in the fourth quarter in the playoffs, Tom Brady was like 4 for 7 or something like that as far as scoring and going up a score. And Pat Mahomes was 7 for 7. So it's natural that we think about Pat Mahomes, but he's coming off a year where he's not a Pro Bowler. He's not an all-pro type of guy. What is it other than Pat Mahomes you think is the reason why this team has been able to squeak by at 15-2 and get into the Super Bowl again?
Yeah, I'll say it one better. Statistically, in almost every single category, this is Patrick Mahomes' worst season of his career. But it's the most wins he's had in a season in his career. I mean, it just shows you the way he plays and the way this team plays. And so to bring up exactly how they do this is there's a few things that play into it. And I know obviously everybody says they get calls, refs, and things like that. I do think there's a thing tied to that, and that's this team in big moments, they don't make mistakes. And they're coached really, really well. I think a perfect example is like George Karlaftis. I'm standing on the sideline at the 20 right there at Arrowhead, and I'm watching George Karlaftis hit Josh Allen on that 4th and 5 play, and he like hits him, lets up, puts his arms back. Like, I know I made a play, but I'm not going to put us in a difficult situation to where maybe a call goes against us. I mean, like, that's how well they're coached. That's just one small example of it. And then what happens is that on the defensive side of the ball, Steve Spagnuolo is one of the best defensive coordinators in postseason play ever. I mean, on his way to possibly his 5th Super Bowl, and he always seems to dial up the right thing at the right moment. So what really does happen is Pat's part of this, but the rest of their game-changing players, whether it's Chris Jones or Nick Bolton or George Karlaftis or Travis Kelce, they make the biggest play in the biggest moment. And I've talked to teams that have gone against them down the stretch, and they show film sessions. Right? They show film sessions to their entire team going, look at here it is, the fourth quarter, they made a play. Fourth quarter, they do this. Fourth quarter, they do that. And they just have to get themselves to the fourth quarter, and they think they're going to win. And they're starting to be a thing around the league. No matter how confident these guys are, you get into a tight game in the fourth quarter with the Chiefs, you start going, it's going to be pretty tough. They're probably going to pull it out. And you're on the other sideline. It's hard.
Speaking with NFL insider James Palmer right now. And James, sticking with the Chiefs and just their ability to close out games and find ways to win, obviously what sprouted from this is a conversation about refs and the influence that they have. Do you think that that's just a way that as NFL fans we try to like rationalize greatness and consistency, or do you think that sometimes there's truth to it?
I think that's not just NFL fans. It might be human nature. I'm not entirely sure, but I covered Brady for a ton in New England in my early days at NFL Network about, and this was the same thing we were going through with those New England teams. And obviously they got caught cheating, so that's a little bit different. But I would say in these tight moments, you would always kind of like there was a lot of frustration with fans. And I think what would happen is you're playing a lot of nationally televised games, so there's a lot of fans, not your fans watching these games because you're always on, the nationally televised one, the prime timers. And at the same time, like you put yourself in this situation. Neither one of those, those organizations in their heyday are blown out in any games. So you're in every single game, and every single game is a one-score game, tight game. Every single call is scrutinized to the umpteenth degree. I would say this, and just knowing the way Patrick is wired specifically, because I know a lot of this centers around him, he has an unbelievable understanding of the rule book and an unbelievable understanding of how he can manipulate it to his advantage. And you know what? That's a competitiveness. That's something that's used in every sport. Go look at soccer. I mean, that's the way guys, every little advantage you want to get to try to win. I think Patrick is wired to do that. And does it annoy some people? Certainly. But I'm not sure they're getting calls. I do think it's a frustration that I think the rest of the league has right now with the consistency that the Chiefs have had.
We have two completely different head coaches in this game. One is a legend. One is a firecracker. What's the story? What's your headline when we look at Andy Reid against Nick Sirianni?
Yeah, I'm from Philly. I feel like Nick Sirianni is like one of my boys. Like he acts like all the guys I grew up with. I mean, it is true. And I do think you can coach in this league in a variety of ways. I really think you can. And the number one thing you have to do is connect with your players and relate with your players. And I think these two guys do it in a very different way. I think going for the second time, and ironically the second time being against Andy Reid again, I think it will change a little bit for Nick Sirianni and how he goes about it. I think what you have to do when you go against Andy Reid, and a lot of our conversation, right, is about how this team's coached. You have to make sure that in those key moments where the Chiefs' heartbeat actually goes down, Patrick's somehow actually is calmer apparently on his heart monitor in these biggest moments than it is in other moments. But they find a way to relax and make the right decision. You don't have to outduel that. You just have to do the thing, right? Like what they do is they prey on teams that are panicking in these big situations, and they turn the ball over or they make a poor decision. The quarterback makes a poor decision. Like Nick has to get that through his team, that they have to be as calm in those moments as well as the way Andy works. And so they coach very different styles. I think the coordinators equally are extremely important in this game with Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore, and the way Steve Spagnuolo I already mentioned. So I think the head coach has a huge role in almost that role of calming your entire team in this massive, build up. But at the same time, your coordinators making the decisions they make and Nick trusting those.
James, as Bump and I have been looking at the Seahawks and talking about the front office moves and the difficulty of trying to improve when you don't have, high draft picks, I keep looking to Howie Roseman and everything he's been able to do with the Eagles and just thinking, how is he getting away with this? Like, this is unbelievable, the moves that he's making. To you, I don't want to ask, what are some of the best moves, but, what does he do so well?
Yeah, it's a really great question because you know what? You're not the only person that's curious about it. People around the league are curious about it. People ask people that work in that front office and in that scouting department all the time, things like the Senior Bowl or the Combine. There's a little bit of an enviness to the way the Eagles work because there's an old school scouting aspect and an idea to it, but they're always evolving and they're always trying to find different ways to be innovative in how they look at players and evaluate players. So I think their balance between the old school way and the new analytic way is really, really done well in their part. Howie loves to, if you talk to anybody who's done a deal with him, he always feels like he has to come out on top. And whether that's just bumping a pick in just a little direction, either or. But I think one of the biggest things that they have an advantage over other places, and I think John has this a little bit, but you look at the way he operates, it's with no fear, right? It's no fear I'm going to lose my job. And sadly, that's so much of the way decisions are made in this league to where they made a mistake giving Carson Wentz a massive contract. Well, he turned around and just traded him immediately and drafted Jalen Hurts while he still had Carson Wentz. So they always concentrate on the trenches, draft in positions they're already deep in, which I think is another thing that stands out. I mean, they draft Cam Jurgens when they already have Jason Kelce, and he slides right in. He's a Pro Bowler when he starts. They always look to continue to refill positions and never go and reach. And so I think Howie's ability to keep plugging away the way he does with no fear of losing his job allows him to make mistakes, and Jeffrey Lurie allows him to correct them. And that doesn't happen in a lot of buildings.
You always connect Hall of Fame coaches with Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and those Hall of Fame quarterbacks typically have a few seasons where you got another Hall of Famer with you. And with Pat Mahomes, it's Travis Kelce. We're all trying to figure out when Travis is going to go out. When is he done with this game? Been in there for a while, has dominated in the playoffs, arguably with the second best pass catcher of all time in the playoffs. If he goes out, they go out and win this game. And rumor is it that if they win, he's done. Do you think Pat Mahomes in the game can continue this run that they're on without a guy like Travis Kelce?
I mean, we're going to find out, but I would say this season is a pretty good example of it. I mean, Travis statistically hasn't had the season that we've seen before. There was a lot of rumblings when I talked to people in Kansas City that at the age he's at and the way he practices, he was kind of buying his time till the postseason, right? Kind of rope-a-doping it in a sense because of where he's at. I mean, everybody in Kansas City will even tell you he's lost a step. But I do think there's the impact of eyes going on following him, right? Defenders just making sure they have to keep an eye on him. And so he has 2 catches in that last game, in the championship game. In the locker room, he's walking by me, and I go, you're a hell of a lead blocker. Because if you saw him, he was the lead blocker on Mahomes' second touchdown run. And he goes, I'll do anything to help this team win, baby. You know that. And that's the way Travis is wired. And so it doesn't have to be in catching balls. Now, playing without him, I think we've seen them, in the retire receiving core is very different than Philadelphia's. It doesn't have the talent Philadelphia has, but he hits 9 receivers in a game usually, right? Things are designed for different guys. I think Rashee Rice was starting to step into that role and being that kind of, underneath crossing route type of type of dynamic player, and Pat needs to get trust and feel with the guy. I would think the growth with Rasheed is something that continues moving forward, but you don't just replace probably a Travis Kelce on and off the field in your organization.
Hey, James, let's head to Seattle for this next one. Seahawks find their new OC with former Saints coordinator Clint Kubiak. What did you make of the hire?
I love Clint. You guys want to hear something wild? I was at Clint's pro day at Colorado State when he was a safety at Colorado State. I was there for his pro day. And so I know Clint. I know the family. I was a beat reporter in Houston covering Gary when he was the head coach in Houston. And so I know this offense. I think it fits Geno, I think, really well for a few reasons. When I looked at the matchup and I looked at Clint had some options, honestly. The way it's designed, what I like what he does best is he finds ways to be aggressive downfield and take strikes downfield out of max protection type of formations, right? Like he finds ways in two receiver routes, whether you're going to have DK and JSN out there running around, like you're able to put extra tight ends in and he'll still find ways to get them open. How does that fit Geno? Well, he was sacked, 50 times last year, like third in the NFL. So how do you protect him and allow him to use the deep ball that's still really good? I think Clint can do that. I think the play action is extremely important. I think this is obviously a run-first type of offense. If you can find guys that have great decision-making and vision at the running back spot, those are heavy traits for your backs, they're going to succeed in this type of offense. And I just think the way it's framed up, I think it plays a lot to Geno's strengths, whether it's for the next year or moving forward, we'll find out. But I think it is a really, really good hire considering this is a guy who has been around Kyle Shanahan, has obviously been around his dad, who doesn't get enough credit for this style of offense that is being run throughout the league. And he has a great understanding, specifically in year one. And I've talked to people about this. Like his dad did it too. Like in year one, when nobody really knows how you're going to run it, they do a great job of setting things up during training camp, setting things up during preseason to show the league certain things and then work off of those. It's a really, really intricate style of coaching that Clint does, and I think it actually fits a lot of the strengths that Seattle has.
That was going to be my question. I was going to say, man, when you look at this depth chart and this roster, so you think they can pull it off? I think here we're still concerned about the offensive line. I think most teams are at some point, right? I mean, it's only a few offensive lines that we feel like are just ready to go. But you think there's enough here?
I think so. I mean, it's, obviously you got some free agents you're looking at, right? That you have to figure out how those contracts are going to go. Whether it's, I think, Craw, I'm trying to go into my head here, like Cross or Kenneth Walker, right, or any of these guys. I'm curious how this plays out with DK. Honestly, I would. In the finances of what they're trying to do, is DK Metcalf still there? I think in the way Clint does things, I think that's valuable. I think that's important. And I think also the one other part I didn't mention is you have good pass catching tight ends. And that's always been so valuable in the way that all the Kubiaks think. I would think what Clay's in San Fran. I mean, like the way all of them think is a way to find your tight end and create spots to get them open. And Noah Fant does that and other guys. So I do think they have enough. I just do think there does have to be some cap gymnastics to figure out who's going to be able to stay and be a part of it.
He is NFL insider for Bleacher Report and Underdog Fantasy, James Palmer. James, great stuff. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, James.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Enjoy the lull this weekend we have before we get to play football again.
Thanks. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Before we get to headline rewrites quickly, you seemed very intrigued by James' final point. What did you think about it?
Yeah. I think, remember I was talking to you off air.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the Seahawks, and I'm telling you, this is not Homer bump. This is me watching a lot of film this past couple of weeks since Kubiak's been hired. And I'm looking at the Seahawks offensive line, and I'm looking at the Saints offensive line. And I'll take the Seahawks last year offensive line off compared to the Saints offensive line. I think they have to get better, but I saw more busting or breakdowns and plays. I've seen more missed and blocks with the Saints than I've seen. I'm like 3 games for 3 games right now, looking at the Hawks last year and looking at the Saints. So him saying that he thinks that there's enough there to at least get started. I don't think he's saying there's enough here for these guys to make a run right now and be good. I think that there's enough for him to build off of, but you still have to add. I was surprised, honestly, that I saw According to PFF, that's why you take it with a grain of salt. That I saw PFF had those guys 21st. And then I think that they look at the sacks and whatnot. You account for that. I understand that. But I'm just looking at talent across the board. Their center over there, I think McKee's his last name, is good. He's good to go. But I think that has some of the same issues that the Seahawks had at the guard position. So it didn't surprise me that he said he thinks there's enough here because he's assuming DK is here, Jason is there. He mentioned how the tight ends are good pass catchers. I highlighted Noah Fant. There was a time where he was 28 for 28 when being targeted or whatnot. There's enough to build. I'm not putting this team on a pedestal and saying they are contenders right now. They're good to go. Just the starting point, though, I think with just the offensive line, even the skill positions. Last year, the Saints, they lost a whole bunch of guys. He's going to walk into this situation and say to himself, I got more to work with. Now it's up to management to say, all right, you think you do have more to work with, but we're going to help you out even more.
I at least like hearing it. Hearing that from you, hearing it from James makes me feel more optimistic as someone that can't see those things. And I go, okay, if you see that, then I feel better. Because what I don't want to think is, oh, you got a new OC, but it's hopeless. You don't have anything to work with. It's like, no, don't tell me that. Tell me that there might be more here than I think. Like, that's far more interesting to me. Let's get to headline rewrites.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Headline rewrites.
We must make headlines.
The real story behind the headlines in today's news with Bump and Stacy.
Headline number one, the Athletics' Keith Law has the Mariners farm system ranked number 1 in all of baseball. What's the real headline?
In other news, T-Mobile Park's now considering hanging a farm system banner.
Do it. Might as well do it. You know, this is when you hear like okay news from your boy, your girl. He's like, for sure. That's what's up. Like, it's cool to hear. I'm happy. We're good at something.
Yeah.
But I want to be good at what really matters. And that is winning games, competing for the division, getting into the playoffs, and being taken seriously. I think there are always pockets during the season where the Mariners are like, they're hot. You don't want to play them right now. Right? They're that team. You don't want to play them right now.
Yeah.
You want to be the team. You don't ever want to play these guys. Right?
Yes.
They have the rotation for that. Need support elsewhere. Same story, different offseason.
Speaking of that rotation, the reason that it's hard for me to feel super elated about this, like I'll do a tip of the cap, great job. Like that is a good job. It's part of your job as a front office is to draft and develop, and you're doing that right now. But the reason it's hard for me to be super excited is none of these guys can help you this year in a real way. And when they are going to be able to help you, let's say they debut, not only do they have to work out, which as we know, prospects sometimes don't,
right,
but what's your rotation going to look like? Are you going to have an elite World Series, like just dominant rotation that looks this way, that's healthy in 2 years? I don't think you're going to have all these guys here in 2 years. So it's disheartening for me because I want to be excited about it, but it's like it doesn't line up. I can't be I can't have these two things at the same time, so I care less about it.
Headline rewrites.
Headline number 2, Kraken goalie Philip Grubauer has officially cleared waivers and went unclaimed. He will be going to Coachella Valley. What's the real headline?
This is the most depressing trip anyone's ever taken to Coachella.
It is.
It's great weather this time of year.
You know?
It is. You seen the meme of that girl dancing at a party, but she's like crying at the same
it's
time?
It's so good.
Like that's the way I feel about this. Grubauer has a responsibility, though. He is contracts guaranteed in the NHL. I had to look that up. I go, man, is he guaranteed that money? Guaranteed he's going to get it. When he goes down to that dress room in Coachella Valley, he's paying for everything. Those guys are broke down there. They ain't making money like that. And all my hockey buddies, that's what they tell me. That's the rule, man. The guys in the bigs get sent down. They're paying for stuff. Let's get us an 85-inch on the wall over there. Buy us lunch one day or something. So he just became the sugar daddy at Coachella Valley, honestly. He became the sugar daddy.
What's next?
Headline rewrites.
Headline number 3, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier is being investigated by the federal government into whether or not he manipulated his performance during the 2023 season as part of an illegal sports betting scheme. What's the real headline?
Are we becoming numb to stories like this in sports?
I think we're just used to it, man. I don't think we're numb, but it doesn't shock us the way it used to.
Yeah.
You know, at first, like, oh my God.
I can't believe that.
Why would they do that? But now it's like, nah, I mean, it's common. I think it's more common than we think. There are players all across the leagues, I think, that do this. But typically, they're the players that are lower on the totem pole, not guys recognizable names like Scary Terry. Yeah, they're the other guys, like old boy's brother. Who was it from Toronto?
from Toronto.
From
Curtis.
Toronto.
Jonte Porter. Nathan Hale, legend.
Second time. I forgot his name earlier. I was like, Curtis, what's his name?
Inmate number 17239.
Yeah, we're used to those players, even though they're still getting a couple mil over there. No, it's unfortunate. I'm terrified to even be around sports betting because of what I do, and I don't get paid anything like those guys are getting paid. So you got to be on point, man. Come on, do better.
I thought you made a good point, too, about how the NBA in particular may be most at risk of players, low-level, lower paid players getting involved with this.
Control the game.
Exactly. So when it comes to those prop bets, like a third-string running back has almost no control unless he decides to fumble the ball every time he gets a carry, has almost no control over whether or not his team wins, over his final stat line. But you control when you leave. You could leave a game after, I don't know, scoring 6.
Hey, coach, my ankle hurts.
Yeah.
You know, you have the ball in your hand. You're the point guard. I need 3 turnovers right now. I'm gonna help influence this game. Yeah, I forgot what game. It was a movie I was watching where there was a kid shaving points. It might have been, was it Blue Chips? I think it was Blue Chips. Back in the day, you got to watch that one with Derek.
Okay,
Blue
fine.
Chips. Shaq is in it. Anthony Hardaway is in it.
So you guys tell me to watch all these movies, or listeners will tell me to watch movies, and I'm like, I'm not going to watch all of them, okay? I'm not going to watch Rocky and some other Rudy and some other dumb thing.
Why not?
Because it's just too much. I've got too much to do. Do you know how many Housewives reunions I'm going through right now? Salt Lake City and New York both just had part 2. Or no,
You can watch all the shows on demand.
I have too much stuff I'm committed to right now, Curtis. I will commit to like 1 or 2.
A what?
So, of sports movies
1 or
that
2
like
a month,
they're grainy.
a week.
Okay,
year?
I'll say a month.
Yeah, that's doable.
Okay.
Blue Chips. Write it down in your notepad. Blue Chips.
Your fancy notepad that you traveled across the country to go get.
Julian Edelman shared a reason he thinks the Steelers haven't been able to advance in the playoffs. That's next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
This is the one, the only skipper of your Seattle Mariners, Dan Wilson.
These guys are really excited. They are really wanting to get to that postseason, and there's a strong desire to get there. There's a strong desire to raise their standards and to do what it takes to get there. And, you know, all that starts in a week and a half or so, and that's what's exciting about spring training is getting started on that long journey.
Hear the rest of this interview on demand at seattlesports.com and on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
Free consultations, no fee guarantees, 5-star reviews. JP Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains the importance of going beyond these familiar offerings.
Accident victims want an attorney, Tom, that satisfies their needs. Someone who handles those needs with the highest degree of care. Pendergast Law offers the no-fee guarantees and free consultations, but these only scratch the surface.
Okay, explain more.
We make sure that every member of our team is genuinely passionate about helping others. Customer service and communication are our top priority. It's how we take care of our clients so they always feel one step ahead of the insurance companies. Our strong reputation for high standards provides comfort and confidence when it's needed most.
Pendergast Law offers the free consultations, the no-fee guarantees, and, of course, they are 5-star rated. But what really makes them different is their genuine passion for helping others. I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
That's PendergastLaw.com.
What is that sound? Ugh, that sounds like a plumbing sound. Luckily, there's a company that fixes all the plumbing sounds across Puget Sound. That's All Sound Plumbing. Puget Sound's plumbing experts. Have a sound? Visit allsoundplumbing.com.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Our local tax expert Greg Nunn wants taxpayers to know the IRS is now going after older cases very aggressively. If you received Form CP-504 from the IRS, do not ignore it. Be proactive and resolve your situation with Greg Nunn, N-U-N, None Better Tax Resolution.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you love designer brands and you love clearance, then you're going to love this. Macy's is having a huge designer clearance event right now with incredible new designer markdowns on cold weather styles from BCBG, Hugo Boss, Michael Kors, and more. How big are the markdowns? How about Coach boots for $200 or less? So if you're looking for the things you love all in one place, come in and shop the designer clearance event at Macy's today. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Joe Montana here. In my football days, I knew the importance of a strong defense. Now I'm sharing how you can help defend your health against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease. Are you 50 or older like me? The CDC now recommends vaccination against pneumococcal disease. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at increased risk and over 6 times greater risk of hospitalization with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50. Schedule your appointment today at vaxassist.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Jackson Hewitt makes taxes feel like a yacht rock song.
Please, give me my biggest tax refund, please. You, me, and a lifetime accuracy guarantee.
And now get $100 just to try Jackson Hewitt. Does your tax person do that?
Say goodbye to that no guarantee tax guy.
Ready to sail through tax season? Go to Jackson Hewitt and you'll be limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
The Hot Stove Show. Stay up to date on the Mariners offseason with Aaron Goldsmith, Gary Hill, and Shannon Dreyer.
Swing and a miss for strike 3.
Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. leading up to spring training.
Hi, Justin Shirley, CEO of State Roofing and Exteriors. With thousands of full replacements with expert craftsmanship and unbeatable warranties, we've been building roofs you can trust for over 5 decades. It's more than just a job, it's our promise to you. Protect your investment with a free Golden Pledge warranty on all GAF roof replacements over $15,000. Call 866-ROOF-ROOF or visit stateroofing.com today to schedule a free estimate. State Roofing and Exteriors, held to a higher standard since 1968.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Cougar basketball is back.
These guys want to get better at basketball. They want to go as hard as they can in the game. They want to get their education. They want to be around each other and build a real family.
Coach Riley and the Cougs are ready.
We put in so much work all of our lives for this exact moment.
We are Wazoo. It's only on your home for Cougar basketball.
Catch the Cougs all season long on AM 770 KTTH.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
We're going to start with the Steelers when it comes to NFL headlines. I know that they're out of the playoffs, but why? That is a question Julian Edelman was talking about on his own podcast, and he shared a reason that he thinks Pittsburgh hasn't been able to advance in the playoffs recently.
You knew exactly what they were doing every time, and they still do what they do. They still do the same that when I was playing Tomlin's defense.
Steeler football.
I'm like, what the? We still have linebackers covering the 3 slot?
Yeah.
Every time we play the Steelers, I have at least 9 catches.
Coach,
you would think that they would change it.
They're right.
No, but they do what they do.
He said the Steelers run the same old defense they've always ran, and they need to change it up. What do you think?
Julian said there's a reason why he had 9 catches, because he was matched up with a backer, not a nickel, not a versatile or backer that can play the safety spot. You got to have that rover out there is what we used to call it, right? You got to have that guy who's versatile, who can play in the box and who can cover, not just a big boy who's going to go out there and try to manhandle you. If Julian Edelman is saying that, then I got to believe it because he knows a lot of football.
It's just There is clearly something happening, and not being an X's and O's person myself, Bump, the way I looked at it is it must be the kind of thing that happens to a lot of teams that succeed. Well, how are the Steelers supposed to bring in blue chip talent and try to get better when they're winning all the time, right? The cost of winning all the time is that you're paying good players money, so your cap hit is tougher, and you also don't have top 5 picks, so you can't more easily find your answer. Oh, also they don't have their franchise quarterback anymore. They haven't been able to find that guy. So I've kind of just thought, it's personnel. Mike Tomlin's a great coach. The wide receivers that we've seen since have behavioral questions make you think like, man, this guy can control a locker room. Like, I've only grown in my appreciation of Tomlin, but I never, I guess stupidly, thought maybe Tomlin is part of the problem and his defense is part of the problem.
I'm so excited. I got more homework for tonight.
Oh my God.
I'm going to watch this
immediately
Steelers
started
game.
reaching for your iPad and I'm like, okay, maybe we'll do a 4 down tomorrow and be like, what did you find?
Yeah.
Was Julian Edelman right?
Let's do it.
Okay, next story. Before his impactful 41-yard punt return in the AFC title game, Chiefs kick returner Nico Remigio told Kay Adams he got some inspiration from teammate Travis Kelce on the sideline.
You know, Trav came up to me earlier in the game, and I had fair caught that first punt coming out the gates, and he was like, "That's not being great, bro." And so I knew going into this next opportunity that I had, I'm like, I got to make something happen. And so I went and took a peek down the field and saw that the guys were, it was going to be tight and it was going to be a quick play, and just made it happen.
Just catching punts? That's not being great, bro.
I love that. You don't know how far that goes. Travis Kelce, one of the greatest tight ends of all time, comes up to you and says that. Man, my first punt return for a touchdown. We're playing Oregon, and they kick the ball. I muff it, but then there's a flag on the play. There's a flag, so I get another opportunity. It's on them. And one of our leaders walks up to me and says, "Let's go, Bump. Take this thing to the house." And then that senior talking to me put something in me. I'm like, let's go get it. And I take it to the house. I understand exactly where that man is, granted on a lower level, not in a conference championship game. But when your leader comes up to you and challenges you like that, man, you got to perform. That just got me hyped right now. Let's go, Kelce.
What did he say to you after you returned it to the house for a touchdown?
It's just a lot of curse words and, celebrating going on.
Well, that's great. Raiders owner Mark Davis discussed the level of involvement Tom Brady had in the hiring of Pete Carroll.
So the interview group was myself, Tom Brady, Mike Meldman, Egon Durbin, and Tom Wagner, with help in the background with Sandra Morgan, Larry Delson, and Tom Delaney. We went through a very rigorous process of interviewing people, and by the time we were done, we knew that it was going to be, there were 3 or 4 people that we were truly interested in. And when one person made a decision to go to another team, it became clear that Pete was going to be our guy. And on the other side of the coin, John Spytek, really impressed us from the get-go.
Lie to me. You don't need to say that. Oh, yeah, our first choice was gone, so we went Pete Carroll. You ain't got to say all that. You lie. You say, look, we went through all of our candidates. Pete stood out. We knew he was the guy for us. You ain't got to say all that, man. I mean, I don't think it's going to hurt Pete's feelings or anything, but just the way it looks and feels. You could have fluffed that up a little bit.
Yeah. Moving on to our next story here. This one it's a controversial story surrounding Justin Tucker, as just a warning. Baltimore Ravens kicker Justin Tucker is accused of engaging in inappropriate behavior at 4 Baltimore area spas and wellness centers. So this is according to the Baltimore Banner. 6 massage therapists have accused Tucker of sexually inappropriate behavior and harassment over multiple sessions that occurred in encounters between 2012 and 2016. At one point, a representative of a spa said Tucker was immediately terminated as a client after a 2014 incident, and that the incidents were inappropriate, incredibly degrading. The NFL, so 2 statements here. NFL spokesman Brian McCarthy said, quote, this is short, "We first became aware of the allegations from the reporter investigating this story as they were not previously shared with the NFL. We take any allegations seriously. They're looking into the matter." The second is a much longer statement that I'm not going to read in full from Justin Tucker, but he calls the statements unequivocally false.
All right, so before we make strong opinions, right, we need to let this thing play out a little bit, but it doesn't look good. If you are an athlete and you need to get a massage, man, you make sure it is the most professional environment in the world. You just can't put yourself in that situation, because if it's true, then it looks all bad. If it's false, then it still looks bad because you're going to one of these strip mall rinky-dink massage places.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to stay out of that. If anyone is listening who was an athlete, learn from Deshaun Watson, learn from Tucker. We don't know what is true and what is not from Tucker, but we know that going to these places and you are a professional athlete who could afford to even not do that, like deal with your team's massage therapist or something. Like, put yourself in a position that is so professional that the thought of that even crossing your mind, if it did happen, doesn't cross your mind. And there's no doubt in that situation. So it's just it's a bad look for Tucker, man. We'll see what happens.
In terms of evidence or where this case could go or what the case kind of hinges on, Justin Tucker's attorneys have said, like, this is impossible to prove. Not only that, but again, they're unequivocally denying any of this.
Right?
Exactly. So according to, I read a Yahoo Sports coverage of it, which summarized some of the allegations, but the allegations were not brought to law enforcement. The first thing I'll say is, I don't think that's necessarily weird. I think that there are probably lots of inappropriate things, and I'm not saying Justin Tucker did this. I'm just saying, in theory, I think there are a lot of inappropriate things, sexually inappropriate things that happen to, service workers in a couple different industries that maybe they just think, we're going to ban this person, and we're not calling the cops, but we're going to tell this person he can't come here anymore.
Right.
I think that in this case, I'm curious to see if there is any evidence of, in a profile, in an email sent or something of they clearly banned Justin Tucker from this establishment.
Something time-stamped.
Exactly.
A complaint somewhere.
And it's pretty hard to deny. I mean, if in 2014 there's an email sent by a manager to an employee saying, hey, please make sure that we don't have contact with this client anymore. He's not allowed on the premises.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at that point, it's kind of hard for,
you better hope there was no corresponding going on.
I know. Last one, I mentioned it earlier, last story here to wrap up NFL headlines. Good news for the Eagles. Defensive end Brandon Graham could play in Super Bowl 59. He tore his triceps in late November. Everyone assumed this was a season-ending injury, but that practice window has been open. He said he's trying to play.
He's a warrior. He's going to go out there and give it his all. That's what's up, man. You don't want to miss opportunities like this. And if he's able, go out there and get some snaps. You ain't going to be an every snap type of dude, but go ahead and help your team.
All right, back to the Mariners for a little bit. We heard from manager Dan Wilson on Wyman and Bob yesterday. Everything you need to know coming your way next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Let's talk to Kevin Burkhardt right now. As you know, one of my absolute favorites. Who plays quarterback for Pete Carroll next year? I'm going to give you four choices. A, Russell Wilson. B, Geno Smith. C, Shedeur Sanders.
D, Tom Brady.
D, the field.
Well, it's not Tom. I can tell you that. I can tell you that. I think it's going to be Russell. Fair. I think it's going to be Russell. If you're asking me today to handicap that right now.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto Family.
Hello. Welcome to Lee Johnson Auto Family. This is King. This organization's a special one. They call it the Lee Johnson Auto Family, and it's not just a name. It's not just some cliche. They foster an environment for us to become a family, to work together, to really become close. And they show us in a lot of different ways that they do value us. Is it perfect? No place is. But I've been very thankful to be here in the almost 10 years and have every plan to stay here for a lot longer and just watch it continue to grow.
He's fun and professional, which explains why so many people visiting Lee Johnson Kia ask for him by name. The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto Family.
Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. The best place to watch all your favorite sports. Featuring wall-to-wall viewing screens, 6 windows, and 30 kiosks. Be there at emeraldqueen.com. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
In between storms, have Asset Roofing do a roof inspection. They're going to make sure shingles are intact and clean up any moss, giving you peace of mind now and saving you thousands years later.
Asset Roofing, excellence is on the house.
Where can you kick off the new year with big savings on gig speed? Only with Xfinity, now through January 30th. Get gig internet at home for $25 a month for 1 year when you add an unlimited mobile line, which connects you to gig speed Wi-Fi on the road. Act fast today and save more than $650 over AT&T and Verizon in your first year. Plus, hurry and take advantage, because right now you can also get a free 5G phone with trade-in. So save big and stay connected to what you love with fast gig speed internet and mobile. From home to hotspots, this new year, it's all about gig speeds and big savings. Don't wait and get gig speed internet. Spend less green and switch to Xfinity. Go to Xfinity.com/gig savings to learn more. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. $40 internet discount applied to mobile bill. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon Fiber Gig Plus 1 Unlimited Welcome Line and AT&T Fiber Gig Plus 1 Unlimited Starter Line. Xfinity internet required. Reduced speeds after 30 gigabits of usage per line. Data thresholds and actual savings vary.
Breast cancer is a tough battle for anyone to fight, but without support, it can be devastating. I'm Dr. Suzette Miranda with Northwest Hope and Healing. We provide a lifeline to breast and gynecologic cancer patients in our community. Help us make a difference by joining us at Cork, Fork, and Support, an afternoon of wine tasting and community on February the 1st at the Hollywood Schoolhouse in Woodinville. Get your tickets now for February the 1st. Go to nwhopeandhealing.org to learn more. That's nwhopeandhealing.org.
Bonneville International radio station contests are open to participants 18 years of age or older that are residents of Washington State unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contests are not eligible to win unless the station otherwise specifies at its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 60 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available on seattlesports.com or in person at the station during regular business hours.
4 Down Territory, going inside the game with Michael Bumpus.
I like this. More quarterbacks should start doing this.
Every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bumpin' Stacy.
We've all been there. Sleepless nights, mind racing, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Video security, burglar alarms, fire alarms, access control, 24/7 monitoring, and more. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy, knowing we're here for you, your people, and your business. Visit bayalarm.com to talk to a local security expert. Bay Alarm, we got you.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here for my friends at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Yes, I said and hotel. If you're looking for a fun night out, Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel is just the place to go. Whether it's Vista Prime Steak and Seafood with their reimagined happy hour or Falls Buffet as well. The breathtaking views of the Snoqualmie Valley and Mount Si. You can find all the details at snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Only 30 minutes from downtown. Seattle's closest, Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
Jewelry Gram, it's your friends at Shane Company here to remind you that Valentine's Day is Friday, February 14th. It's the most romantic day of the year to give and get fine jewelry. We have expertly crafted gifts for every type of sweetheart. For the one, we'll help you propose with the dream engagement ring. Come see our wide selection of hand-picked natural and lab-grown diamonds in all shapes and sizes. In stock and ready to compare side by side right here in our store. Or maybe you'll fall in love with the natural, colorful gemstone. At Shane Company, we're known for our sapphires in every color of the rainbow. We have options for every style and budget. Get creative and design a custom necklace with meaningful charms, including 14-karat gold letters, engravable hearts, and birthstones. Our mother-of-pearl heart-shaped collection makes a perfect gift that's ready to give. At Shane Company, love is always in the air with our unmatched free lifetime warranty, everyday competitive prices, and no-pressure shopping experience. Come see us in-store and at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Mariners manager Dan Wilson was on with Wyman and Bob yesterday, and we learned a lot about what it was like for him to get that midseason job as a manager, kind of what's atop his mind heading into the 2025 season. So let's go ahead and go through some of this sound. First, he compares getting a manager job midseason to drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah, I mean, I think drinking from a fire hose comes to mind at close range. It was certainly a lot right away, and you know, I was obviously grateful for the opportunity and ready to go at it. But you know, even as a player, you're around it, you just don't understand what it it entails when you're in that role, and so it was a lot early on.
Yeah, I can't imagine walking into a situation where everyone's just angry. Manager has been fired. Everyone's livid because you were in first place and 10 games in first place, and then you completely fell out of it. Thank goodness he's a fan favorite and a former Mariner, because that would have been just a tough situation for anyone walking into it.
It is or would have been a tough situation. And I'm just curious to see what the difference is. Because, I was reading something with the NBA, and it said that coaches now have no authority about what goes on. And it feels that way in baseball, too. Like, the skip don't really have a lot of say on what goes on. They're only so limited in what they do or can control. So now, after seeing a sample size of Dan, like, how does it look different knowing that he's going into spring training with these guys? He's getting to know their personalities a bit more, and he can really control what he can control rather than just coming into a situation and just trying to hold things together.
Another one here I thought would be interesting to both of us. We've talked a lot about the batter's eye and, whether or not the team would fix it. We know Teoscar Hernandez talked about it while he was with the Dodgers and how he just really didn't like it here, and he thought that it really affected his hitting. Dan Wilson was asked about it.
There have been things with the batter's eye over the years. I don't, as a player, there were things that when we first moved in here, I know that we talked about, and a lot of those things had been corrected. The angle is certainly something that people have talked about. Not having stood in a batter's box in a really long time, Bob, it's hard to know for sure if that's something that bothers you. But again, I think I think that as we get into this season and we start playing the type of baseball that we play, which is fighting when we have two strikes, it's moving runners, it's doing the little things. We're going to be in a good spot, and I don't think that'll be a problem.
I love baseball. It's so boring sometimes, though. It's so boring. Like, what else can you do? Fight with two strikes. Move bases along. Of course. What else are we going to do, man? Like, I appreciate Dan. Nothing against Dan and him personally, but this baseball is boring in that sense to where there's not a lot of strategy that goes on to it. There's only so many things that you can do. In other sports, like, we can see 7 different teams and we can see 7 different approaches. But yeah, he's going to say the right things. But thanks for addressing that was 16, right? Addressing the batter's eye and not ignoring it. The worst part would be to act like it doesn't exist.
Right.
And that you just got to go out there and make
players.
it happen.
That's in your head.
They say it's not real. It's not real.
I was like, well, I don't know if a lot of players don't like it. The team knows they need to improve. Now, the reason we've talked about the batter's eye in the park is we're just desperately thinking of ways that the offense can be more consistent. But that may be starting with, obviously, maybe it's a philosophical approach. Maybe it's the players you're bringing in. Here's what Dan Wilson had to say about those conversations with Dipoto.
Yeah, we certainly have conversations, no doubt about it. And understanding who's available, what's out there, what are the options that we have. Where can we go with this guy? All those kinds of things. And we are, in conversations about that a lot. And being around here, being local in Seattle, it kind of helps and get a chance to talk with them frequently. So, I think we're all on the same page and looking forward to, making our team better wherever we can and looking forward to, getting these guys together. I mean, that's my focus at the moment is getting these guys together and getting started on that work to get us to that final step in the postseason. And it's a beautiful journey that is going to get started here pretty quick.
I feel like Dan kind of sidestepped into clarifying what his role was at this. In my opinion, just as a reporter listening to it, I was like, he's sidestepping. He's starting by saying, yeah, I have conversations with Jerry. We're in lockstep. I'm supporting the front office.
Yep.
My job is to keep these guys together, get to know these guys, make sure that we're a whole team heading into the season. Like, clarifying that, like, I'm focused on uniting, figuring out what we got here, figuring out these personalities, and that's all I can do.
Man, it's got to be frustrating being a skip, man. It's got to be frustrating because you know that it's a real, like, manager job. You are a manager. You make sure it's kumbaya. Everyone's getting along, and you say the right things to players to get them going.
Yeah.
You lean on your staff. Like, there's only so much that he can do, but at least he understands that and he's focused on that. That's the worst part, is when you try to consume yourself with things that are just beyond you. I just can't. I'm not doing that. I am a wide receivers coach and I'm stressed out about the DBs giving up big plays. Not my job. I can't stress about that. I'm going to focus on what I can focus on. So that's a good place to operate from because I feel like it's a place where you're less likely just to get stressed out over little things, like it is what it is. This is my role. This is what they paid me to do. They handle everything else.
Probably the last one here. The one positive that we can say about the Mariners season is statistically the offense did see a bump at the end of the year. Like you did see some improvement in that final month. And I think a lot of people were openly wondering whether Edgar was part of that. Here's what Dan had to say.
Gar was a big factor in that and just bringing his message and just allowing guys a little bit of freedom in the box. I think it's more of a mindset than it is, a mechanical change. It's more of a when you step in the box, here's what we should be thinking. Here's what we need to be looking for from the pitchers that we're facing. It's more from a philosophy lens, and Gar really brings that. I think Gar has an incredible outlook on hitting. A lot of times, good players who were good hitters doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a good hitting coach. But Gar was a Hall of Fame hitter, but he studied hitting. He was a student of hitting, and so he can take that knowledge and the way he approached hitting, and he's able to relay that to other guys. And I think having the success that they had helped them to buy into it pretty quickly.
Look, I think the important thing when a former great player can be a great coach is those words do mean more to players.
He might have the toughest job on the staff.
Edgar?
And the biggest responsibility. Get these guys to hit the ball, to not strike out.
Edgar, make them you.
Gar, I like Gar too. Gar. If I saw it, every guy's like, Gar. What's up, man? But it's that's what you do. You delegate. And when you have a Hall of Fame hitter like Edgar there, these guys are going to listen. We heard about the relationship that he had with Julio. It's important. It's something to be said when a guy who has accomplished almost everything that you were trying to accomplish is giving you some tips. So I think he's the most valuable tool that Dan Wilson has on the staff.
Bump, how would you address Gar if he were Irish?
Gar!
Wow! I think I would love to see that interaction, frankly.
You look at me like I'm crazy.
I know. Get your questions in for What I Need to Know coming your way at 45 after 866-979-3776. Before we get to that, there's a difference between being the most talented player and the greatest player. That's next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
Joining us here in the booth, Mariners broadcaster Gary Hill.
Julio being Julio is still going to matter, I think, more than anyone else we bring in. I think he can be a true difference maker, all-star MVP quality. I mean, we all know what his ceiling can be. And I'm actually really confident that he's going to have a big year. And because we have seen it in flashes where he has been among the best players in baseball.
Yeah.
Like the absolute best player that this game has to offer.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Hey, it's Jason Rance. I'm here with our local tax expert and advocate, Greg Nunn of None Better Tax Resolution. When you're dealing with business owners and the idea that they owe money to the IRS and they feel like they might be letting their staff down and it just spirals out of control.
One thing I see with businesses, it's really tough because they have employees and maybe they're having a difficult time with the cash flow of the business. Then unfortunately, what a business often does is they quit making their payroll tax deposits, which is really about the worst thing you could be doing. I mean, it's a telltale sign if you're doing that. Hey, get someone that can help you kind of look at your business and see if things can be changed so that you can operate your business better and make those payroll tax deposits. Because let me tell you this, the IRS is on those right away.
If you're having trouble with the IRS, you have to call Greg Nunn of None Better Tax Resolution. From stress to success with IRS Solutions. 425-947-1967 or Google NUNN. None Better Tax Resolution.
Where can you kick off the new year with big savings on gig speed? Only with Xfinity now through January 30th. Get gig internet at home for $25 a month for 1 year when you add an unlimited mobile line, which connects you to gig speed Wi-Fi on the road. Act fast today and save more than $650 over AT&T and Verizon in your first year. Plus, hurry and take advantage because right now you can also get a free 5G phone with trade-in. So save big and stay connected to what you love with fast gig speed internet and mobile. From home to hotspots, this new year, it's all about gig speeds and big savings. Don't wait and get gig speed internet. Spend less green and switch to Xfinity. Go to Xfinity.com/gig savings to learn more. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment taxes and fees extra. $40 internet discount applied to mobile bill. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon Fiber Gig Plus 1 Unlimited Welcome Line and AT&T Fiber Gig Plus 1 Unlimited Starter Line. Xfinity Internet required. Reduced speeds after 30 gigabits of usage per line. Data thresholds and actual savings vary.
John here with Happy Hauler. Furniture and household items you plan to throw away? We work with organizations all over Western Washington to donate used items. Happy Hauler is Seattle's eco-friendly junk removal. HappyHauler.com, hauling with a heart.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one? We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You're free now. Free to fill your feed with impossibly chunky chunkers who chunk harder than you ever thought possible.
Cats, corgis, babies, baby penguins, baby pandas, chunky baby pandas.
Free to make your smart devices do silly things. Free to open a world of remote work and a portal into Gametopia.
Who's the boss now?
Free to be everything you imagine, and then some. That's how it feels to have Quantum Fiber Internet. Quantum Fiber, your world unleashed. Learn more at quantumfiber.com. Limited availability, service in select locations only.
Endless hours of research, seeking referrals, dozens of calls. Hiring the right attorney can be a challenging process during an already difficult time. JP Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains.
In Washington State, Tom, there are thousands of attorneys to choose from. Referrals and online research can be helpful, but discovering the right attorney requires a conversation. It can be hard to identify integrity and authenticity without that interaction.
So, what do you recommend?
We encourage anyone looking for personal injury representation to call for a free consultation with our team before making a decision simply based on referrals or online research. Accident victims need an attorney that listens, demonstrates honesty, and is genuinely understanding of their unique circumstances. The care, attention, and preparation that our firm provides throughout the case mirrors the effort involved when taking on the insurance companies.
Save time and avoid mistakes after an injury. Contact the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
Hey, sell your car to Wayscar Ford, and when they resell it, they share half their profit with you. That's right. Sell your car to Wayscar Ford in Auburn. They'll pay you today for your car, and once they resell it, they'll share half their profit with you. Go to wayscarford.com for complete details.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
Breaking news earlier this afternoon, Ravens kicker Justin Tucker has been accused of inappropriate sexual behavior by 6 therapists in the Baltimore area, according to a new report from the Baltimore Banner. The allegations reportedly occurred between 2012 and 2016. Tucker released a statement calling them unequivocally false. The Ravens issued a statement saying, quote, "We take any allegations of this nature seriously and will continue to monitor the situation."
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This hour is brought to you by Mazda of Everett.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Bump, you said something in your email today that was very, very interesting. First of all, what got you to this place?
What got me to this dark place?
It's a very philosophical kind of argument. Not argument, a philosophical conversation we're about to get into that I'm excited for. I love these types of conversations, but how'd you get here?
I was sitting there because I'm listening to people just, as the youngsters say, just glaze Pat Mahomes. I can't believe I used that on air. My son would be so mad at me right now. If I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? You better not be listening. Stay in school. I was listening to people talk about Pat Mahomes and how great he is, how great he is, how great he is. And I was like, yeah, he's great. And then they threw in Tom Brady, like, but is he the GOAT? Is he that? Is he this? And I go, yeah, Tom Brady. I go, then they talked about Josh Allen and how he can't beat Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson has 2 MVPs, maybe even 3, and hasn't been able to make it to the Super Bowl. And I'm like, out of all those guys, I would not pick Tom Brady to be my quarterback to start. If I'm just lining up, if they're in the same room, the same field, and we're going through drills and we're scouting, I look at Tom Brady and be like, I'm not going with that guy.
Which, can I pause, not to interrupt, but I purposely want to be able to emphasize that is a hot take. Like, it's a good sports radio take, because I think there are people, and what you're questioning is the automatic assumption we make of, but Tom Brady's the best to ever do it, you idiot.
Right.
What are you talking about? Tom Brady's the best. Why would you possibly not want him?
Because that's hindsight, right? If we're just looking at these athletes at one time, all in their prime, and they're just tossing the football around. We're doing routes on air, and that's how football's evaluated, right? You go to these camps, you look at them run, you look at them throw, you look at them run, look at them jump. That's the process of evaluating football players. I look at Tom Brady and say, no, he'd be my backup for one of these guys, but he's not going to be the guy that I pick. I'd probably, honestly, pick Josh Allen. I'd probably pick Josh Allen because he has the mobility, not as good as Lamar. He has the arm strength, probably the strongest arm out of all 4 of those guys. And then I look at Pat Mahomes and be like, he's kind of quirky, like without seeing them on the football field. So I'm sitting there and I go, well, Lamar is probably the greatest athlete out of all 4 of those guys. Mm-hmm. But Tom Brady is the best player out of all 4 of those guys. And in football, it's such a team sport, man. Like, your success is contingent on a whole bunch of stuff. So now we fast forward to hindsight now. This is just, we went from watching these guys on the football field, measuring them, doing what they do in camps and combines and stuff. Hindsight, now we're looking at where they are in their career. All right, Tom Brady's done. We're looking at Pat Mahomes and then Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, where they are. We look at Tom Brady and say he's the greatest quarterback of all time, yet he's nowhere near the athleticism that these guys are when it comes to Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. And football kind of confuses everything, the whole process. Because Tom Brady, if he doesn't have a top 10 type defense, then who knows what happens. We don't know. But the reality is he had a top 10 type of defense. Tom Brady's also elevated a whole bunch of receivers around him that weren't that great. They're good. Wes Welker's a damn good receiver.
Right.
Edelman, damn good receiver. You had Hogan over there for a while. Really good receiver.
Same thing, though. No one's building their fantasy team based on those guys.
No one's doing it. So he's the greatest quarterback because he's elevated these guys around him, yet people ignore that he had a top 10 defense to work with as well.
People regularly forget that.
You got Teddy Bruschi over there. You got McGinnis over there. You got Laura Malloy was over there.
Yeah.
You look at that defense, there's like 4 Hall of Famers over there on that defense.
Look at the Super Bowl against the Rams. Last time I checked, Tom Brady wasn't dropping dimes in that game.
Yeah. It's his football IQ, his anticipation was amazing. Like, he made up for the lack of physical with the mental type of game. And I say that to go all the way back to Josh Allen, because I'm looking at Josh, and he's a better thrower than Tom Brady. He's a better runner than Tom Brady. He's got that IQ, but he hasn't been able to elevate the guys around him the way Tom Brady has. Or has he? Or has Stephon Diggs dropped a touchdown to win the game? Or has their kicker also on the kicker? Tom Brady had one of the greatest kickers of all time. Vinatieri? How many times did they line up and Vinatieri, boop, automatic, systematic, we good to go. Kick one in the snow with 4 inches of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
Boop, automatic, systematic, good to go.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, all his dudes came up clutch for him. They all made the plays for him, and they don't do it for Josh Allen. They didn't do it for Lamar Jackson. Is that leadership? Is it just the culture of it? I don't know. But I was hopping on the bridge that takes me to the 405 off the 522, and I'm like, man, this ain't right.
Yeah.
This ain't right, because Josh Allen deserves better, and I feel like Lamar Jackson deserves better. So who does it fall upon? Because we've seen these guys make the throws. We've seen them put his team in position to make plays, and they just don't make the plays for him. But they do for Pat Mahomes, and they do for Tom Brady. Pat Mahomes has the best tight end in the game, and he has one of the best defenses of all time. Not all time, but best defense of this year. And he has a great defensive tackle with a great head coach. Is Harbaugh not a good head coach? Is McDermott not a good head coach?
Both great head coaches.
They're both great head coaches.
Yeah.
I was just so baffled because I went from the start to, if I'm looking at these guys, I'm not taking To hindsight, all right, what allows these guys to make these plays for Tom Brady,
Yeah.
but they're not making them for the boys, other boys.
That's a really good point. You know why I like this conversation before we kind of get back to the last point you made, which I think is the most interesting? Like, well, what's that thing that separated them? Is that you can't really have a GOAT versus what I'm going to call MTO, most talented of all time conversation
I like
in
that.
almost any other sport. Like football is so team dependent that I think that your argument about Tom Brady's the GOAT, but he is not the most talented quarterback of all time is completely fair. And it's not one that would be easy to have with the NBA, where like maybe you could go LeBron or is it Kobe or is it MJ? But like all of those guys, you could also make a case were most talented.
Yeah.
Likewise with baseball, right? Like it's pretty hard to be the GOAT or really good and not also be incredibly individually talented and to have all the tools.
And you always look at championships when it comes to football. You always look at championships. Dan Marino was a better quarterback physically than Tom Brady, and he ain't got no championship, so we throw him to the side. Terry Bradshaw has 4 Super Bowls. We don't talk about him at all.
Never.
Why not? Because of the steel curtain. You're like, look, we had that defense, but for some reason it comes to Tom Brady, do that. So then I started thinking about baseball. Baseball is the only sport where championships don't matter. They just don't matter. Baseball is so hard that it does not matter. Ohtani could not have won a championship, and he could have still gone down as the greatest baseball player of all time. Bonds didn't win one, did he? Did Bonds win one?
No.
No, Bonds didn't win one. He still thought of it one of the greatest players of all time. Baseball is such an individual sport that it's all about you. You can perform and be great. Whereas football, to what I think is the hardest position in the game, if you don't win championships, you're automatically thought of as not a great quarterback, just a good quarterback. But when physically you can be better than the guys who are winning championships, but you got an offense, you got a defense, you got coordinators, you got kickers who are involved. There's so much that needs to go right. So it's a confusing conversation, but also amazes me that Tom Brady had so much go right in his career, which he was a catalyst to that thing. Him, Belichick, and that defense. He had so much go right with his preparation and the team that he had that he was able to be the GOAT, and he is not. Jalen Hurts is more physically talented than Tom Brady.
No one can get mad at that.
He's physically more talented than Tom Brady, but he's in the right situation. It's just baffling to me.
I'm going to hit you with a couple theories. Tell me which ones of them you like. And I'm going to start with the one that I know someone right now is thinking. I know someone listening to this segment is thinking this theory. And I'm going to start by saying I think it's the worst one. And that is that Tom is smarter. That Tom, he made up for what he lacked in arm strength and speed and whatever with just an amazing football IQ. And while I think that he is clearly brilliant. I mean, you hear him as a broadcaster. You've heard him in interviews. Like, he's clearly brilliant. You know what he's doing. I also think that it kind of unnecessarily takes that away from Patrick Mahomes, from Lamar, from Josh. You're just assuming that they're not.
Here's the thing with Pat Mahomes that's interesting. He said like 3-4 years ago he didn't really read defenses. He didn't really read. He was that good physically and just the feel of the game that he didn't read defenses. I was talking to some guy on the text line yesterday, and he alluded to Lamar Jackson having a low IQ because of the way that he spoke. Because he has that strong Southern accent, and he hasn't conformed to the way that you see most quarterbacks talk. He is from the gutter, Lamar Jackson. So just because he does it his way doesn't mean he doesn't have good football IQ. I watched film on Lamar. He's got football IQ. You don't toss 41 touchdowns and don't have football IQ. But Tom Brady just maximized everything that he had. And I think that the main difference with those guys, and I'm not there day to day, I haven't been there obviously with Tom Brady and all these guys, is the accountability. I don't know if Lamar holds these guys super accountable. I don't know if Pat does. I would assume he does to an extent because he's winning.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Josh does. If I'm going off of just the outside and looking at these guys, Josh don't seem like he'll put you to the side and be like, man, get your stuff together, dog. I need you. Lamar don't seem that way either. We know Tom Brady was like that. We know Peyton Manning was like that as well. Is that what's missing? I'm just trying to figure out what's missing with these guys because everything's working for the Chiefs right now, and almost everything worked for the Patriots back in the day.
I'm not going to lie. My next one was ruthless preparation and accountability. Like that, when I think of the Patriots, I think of while they were tied to real cheating scandals, whether it was Spygate, Deflategate, they were also frequently talked about as a place where it's like as close to the bars you can possibly get, right? This is not going to be a fun place to play. you're not going to enjoy it. And not only that, we're going to exploit loopholes in the rules. We are going to, make sure that you prep and know every single possible thing about this team. I mean, it's going to be like this military tactic approach to football.
Right.
I do think that made a difference. That kind of accountability you talked about, I think, makes a difference. Like, people knew once they had won, let's say Tom wins his first 3. Like, once that had happened, it was, if you come here, you better play, and if not, you're leaving.
Yeah, you've established something. That's what I'm afraid Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson might miss out on, because since they haven't been able to get over the hump and kind of beat this guy, I don't even know who Tom Brady was trying to beat back then. I don't think there was a team that was dominant in like a dynasty back then. But I'm concerned that Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen have kind of missed that opportunity to really establish themselves as the culture. Like, this is what we do here, because all we know of the Bills now is what you do is look really good during the season, and then for some reason y'all can't make the play at the end of the game. And same thing for Lamar Jackson. Look really good during the season, but for some reason you can't make the play at the end of the game. So it is fascinating to me, because we've seen so many great quarterbacks, man. We've seen Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, and now this generation that's coming in, and there's only been one person to even try to match what's going on with Tom Brady, and it's Pat Mahomes. And it feels like the way that they do it over there in Kansas City is just different than how they did it in New England. But when we hear clips of players saying that Travis Kelce came over to his punt return and said that's not being great, that's accountability right there. I think that's ultimately what I think it comes down to, is holding each other accountable and not being afraid to not be liked and challenge someone and push them to a place that they probably didn't think that they can get to.
You mentioned the coaches earlier. I agree with you. I don't think that John Harbaugh is a bad coach. He's clearly not. Nor do I think Sean McDermott is a bad coach. He's clearly not. But Belichick and Reed do seem to have separated themselves.
Yeah.
And how much do they play into this? Because I think that when Tom Brady won with Tampa Bay, people thought, oh, it was Brady. Like, anyone wondering if it was Brady or Belichick, like, Brady won that conversation. But I don't think that negated Bill's impact on that dynasty. He was clearly part of that. You've mentioned the defenses yourself. Brady wasn't coaching them up. He wasn't game planning.
Nope.
So I wonder if part of it is that in 20 years, will we look back and say, all these other coaches are great. Like, there are some coaches we'll still talk about today, but Andy Reid and Bill Belichick have separated themselves.
They have. And how many legit Tom Brady's played with like 5 Hall of Famers on defense, right? You got Brewski, you got McGinnis. Malloy's not going to be a Hall of Famer, but we all know the impact that he had over there.
Even without Hall of Famers, Gilmore was Defensive Player of the Year.
I'm saying, and I look at this Baltimore defense, the Lamar Jackson Baltimore defense. I don't see any Hall of Famers there. I see one Hall of Famer on offense so far with Derrick Henry. We'll see how Andrews bounces back from this. There's just so many contingencies in football that if you don't strike while it's hot, like when everyone's young and you win early and then people just start to buy into what's going on, I think it gets harder and harder and harder. And I'm afraid that Josh Allen and Lamar, that bus is riding by. They're running next to it, but I don't know if that thing's going to stop anytime soon. It's just it's a tough place to be in if you are those quarterbacks who are physically more talented than a Tom Brady. And in some ways, Pat Mahomes, his arm angles are crazy, but I mean, Josh got a stronger arm than Mahomes and can run better.
It makes me wonder, like, not necessarily, like, physically, I want to know, like, I wonder what Lamar would have looked like with the Patriots. I wonder what Josh would have looked like on those teams. Then I feel this roundabout way of getting back to the conversation of, like, would they have elevated Wes Welker or Edelman in the same way Brady did? I have no idea, because now we're talking about accountability. That's a fascinating take. I like that one. That's a good rabbit hole to go down. We're coming back up, though, for 4 Down territory.
I was in it. I was in that thing.
4 Down territory. Going inside the game with former Seahawks and Coug wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
First down, what's the game plan from the 2024 season? What game plan from the 24 season do you feel, if continued, would have given McDonald what he was looking for?
I'm giving all you listeners some homework today. All right, you go home. If you have access to the All 22, you go ahead and watch it, all right? When the Hawks played the Minnesota Vikings, their first drive was a 3-and-out. It was the best 3-and-out of the season. I know we're not used to seeing these guys score touchdowns, but believe me, it's all about connecting plays and setting stuff up. They're first down. Geno's under center. There's a double tight end to the right. You put Jason in motion from right to left. You pull the tight end. So look at all this movement you got going. Jason right to left. Pull the tight end. Boom. It's like a zone lead. K9 gets +6. Great opening play on the drive. Second down. Geno's under center again. You got a tight end attached to the right side with a wide receiver. You got 2 receivers to the other side. Wide zone look. Wide zone. We like this, right? It's compacted. Wide zone to the left side. K9 doesn't give it too much of a chance. He cuts back. You don't get much of a gain there. That's all right, though. You're under center. You're showing motion. You pull the tight end. And on third down, it's 3rd and 7. You get a false start. You back it up. And now you're in shotgun. Everyone knows you're throwing. Try to hit Jason down the middle. I know it's 3-and-out, but it was the best 3-and-out that I've seen so far in my review of the season. Why? Because you've set everything up. You've shown motion. You've compacted it. You got double tight ends. You moved your receivers. And now you ran the football a couple of times. So this is going to connect to our second down. Best first 3-and-out I've seen all year. This is what Mike McDonald wants.
Second down. All right, let's get to it then. Tell me about the second drive against the Vikings defense.
Second drive. So the Vikings go out and they score. They're up 7-0. It's time for the Seahawks to come back and respond. Their second drive, they go 7 plays, about 87 yards. Let's go through it. You go under center. You got double tight, and you run a trap look. It's a +11. So trap look is when you just block down. You wrap a guy around to hit the 1, take a 3 track. You're downhill. You're showing the Vikings we are running the football, and the Vikings are walking up to the line of scrimmage and throwing blitz like crazy. Second down or second play, you go under center. You got a balance look. You got a tight end to the right, a tight end to the left, 2 receivers outside of them, 1 to the right, 1 to the left. Bam, you're under center. You drop back. The linebackers bite up. What does it do? Create space. Now you got to seam a big play to the tight end for 17 yards. All right, next play. You're shotgun now. You got a balance look. Guess what you do? One more time. You put JSN in motion. You put him in motion, then you run a bubble screen to K9. You motion JSN to the right side. You run the bubble screen. Bam. You got 8 yards right there. You've shown motion once again. You've shown that, look, our running back not only can run the football, he can catch that thing. Next play, you go under center. Geno slides the protection, and what do? You get an option route from Bobo. Linebackers, once again, they bite up. Like, there's no way they're not going to run the football. They've shown us already. Bam, play action. Linebackers bite up. Boom, we're good. You get a 6-yard gain. Next play, you go shotgun, 2x2. Now you're balanced. You're balanced now. Your tight ends have done everything. They've helped block on the edge. They've released down the seam. This time, he chip blocks. So what the tight end does is he stays in like he's pass blocking. Linebackers think, okay, that's my key. He's in there. All right, and now we can get after the quarterback. You play action, boom, you hit your tight end in the flat, 15 yards. Putting these plays together. 2 more plays. You're under center. You got a tight formation. You motion JSN. It's the 3rd time they've shown the defense this. You motion JSN. You give him that ball, and he only gets about 2 or 3 yards. But now you're saying, look, this ain't just for show. This ain't games. This is for real. All right, JSN can get that football. We just gave it to him. Play of this drive. So now you got a trips bunch to the left side. And what you do is you motion K9 out that way. It shows that bubble screen look that you already showed the defense. Defense flows to that side. You isolate DK on the backside, something that Kubiak is going to do. 25-yard touchdown. Your number 1 receiver wins a one-on-one battle. It was beautiful. These 2 drives, this is what Mike McDonald is looking for. The connectivity. We saw the bubble screen once. We saw the bubble screen look. We saw 2 jet sweep motions. You gave him to him 1 time. You saw tight ends release down the seam. You see him block. You see him chip block. You're under center. You're in shotgun. I mean, come on now, baby. Let's go get it. These were the 2 best drives. If Grubb could have tapped into this more often, he might still be in Seattle.
You ever accidentally hit a note when you're singing and go, oh, okay. Like, you know, like I'm normally off key. I'm a horrible singer. And then once in a while, you'll just like you'll just hit something and you go, ooh, wow. Yep. Oh, okay. Calm down, Mariah. That was like that Grubb's moment. Like,
that was it.
Like bad singer.
Yes.
It didn't work out, a little off key at times this season, but he hit that run.
He hit it, man.
And it was great.
Dang, that was it right there.
3rd down. The Hawks have requested permission to interview Saints quarterback coach Andrew Janocko. Why would this be an important hire?
All right, first let's talk about who he is. He has experience with that offensive line. This is a young man, like 36, 37 years old. He has experience with the offensive line in Minnesota in 2018. He's got experience with wide receivers in 2020 with Minnesota, and then the quarterback experience as well, 2021 with Minnesota, 22 through 23 with the Bears, and then New Orleans in 2024. The reason why is you have to bring in guys who know your system. The The thing that might have hurt Grubb a little bit, too, is that he brought in a whole bunch of guys from everywhere, all across the country. It's beautiful. We got black guys, white guys, Samoan guys. We're from everywhere, from that corner to that corner. But sometimes you got to be like, the Irish. But then sometimes you just got to be like, all right, let me go get my boys. Let me call my boys. And we've grown up together. I know I can trust them, and let's bring them in. This is an important hire because he's going to be the offensive coordinator, but you got to have someone who can communicate with Gino your exact message when you're not the one communicating that with him. So I think this is a good first step. They've gotten permission to interview this young man. We don't know if they're going to hire him or not, but the Saints gave them permission because they don't have a head coach over there. So, we like to keep him, but go ahead and do your thing because we ain't got nothing for him. So, no, I think this is huge. You got to bring in guys who know your stuff and who you can trust. So we'll see if this works out.
I am routinely forgetting the Saints don't have a head coach. It's just randomly I'll remember and be like, dang, who is it?
Head coaches in New Orleans.
Fourth down. What's something people don't give Gino enough credit for, let alone most quarterbacks in the NFL?
So there are a lot of times when Gino walks up to the line of scrimmage and people assume he is changing the play. And that's not what he's doing most of the time. And most quarterbacks, what they're doing is they are changing the protection. There are times, there's a Tom call, right? Well, it could be a Tom call in the offenses that I've been exposed to. Tom call. You tell your back, Tom. You're going to say you're going to block the strong side. There's times where the tight end is out. We're overloaded to the left side. I'm going to slide my protection to the right, but I'm going to need your help on this side. Tight end, come in, your stay call. Now you're on that guy. These quarterbacks got to process so much. And I'm watching this go down as I watch film with many quarterbacks, and I'm processing it, and it takes me longer than the play clock. I'm like, wow. All right, he has to go there, and he's going there. Okay, I see what he's doing. But these quarterbacks are doing it so freaking quickly. That means that they are watching a lot of film, and they are so prepared. And I think that Gino doesn't get enough credit for how much he tried to protect himself. There were times where that tight end is supposed to release. He says, nah, stay here. There are times when he's supposed to play action with Ken Walker. He goes, nah, I'm not going to play action, but, hey, you're going to go here. Whatever the call is for the line, I'm sliding here. Boom, Tom, you're going there. There's just so much that they got to process that I don't think people realize. So when they're sitting there critiquing all these quarterbacks saying, just throw the ball, why he do that? Like, look, they got 35 seconds to figure all this thing out and then 3.5 to throw the football. So just offseason, when I'm watching all these other quarterbacks operate, and obviously I'm focusing on Gino and how he works in Kubiak's offense, I just tip my cap. It's the hardest position in sports. They got so much to figure out in such little time.
What's an example of, maybe a mistake that would happen with protection? Like if you call in a guy and you're like, hey, I'm bringing him in to block this guy or whatever, but let's say that guy doesn't rush and then you waste a weapon, right? Is that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Stacy.
Okay.
There's something called a check, right? So let's say you bring this tight end, and it depends on the rules of your offense, right? Say you bring this tight end for protection, and he was originally on a pass route. All right, if that guy doesn't go, he can still run his route according to where it is. If there's something like a corner route from that spot, obviously he's not going to be able to get there. And with the running back too, you bring him in. If you slide protection one way, then typically the running back is responsible for the mic and the Sam. So he steps up. If there's nothing there, then he has a check release. So he checks. They don't go, then you release. So there are ways to make sure that you're still getting the most out of your concept.
Good stuff. Let's see what's on tonight.
What's on tonight with Bump and Stacy, brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook at Muckleshoot. Now, here's what's on tonight.
The Kraken host the Sharks tonight on ESPN. Puck drop is at 7:30. Also, there's a new episode of The Traders on Peacock. Hype Train coming your way next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
This is the one, the only skipper of your Seattle Mariners, Dan Wilson.
These guys are really excited. They are really wanting to get to that postseason, and there's a strong desire to get there. There's a strong desire to raise their standards and to do what it takes to get there. And, all that starts in a week and a half or so. And that's what's exciting about spring training is getting started on that long journey.
Hear the rest of this interview on demand at seattlesports.com and on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
I want you to want me.
Muckleshoot Casino Resort welcomes Cheap Trick. Friday, February 21st at Muckleshoot Event Center. Over 20 million records sold. 5 decades of hits. Cheap Trick live February 21st. Only at Muckleshoot Casino Resort. Get tickets now at muckleshootcasino.com.
In a sea of thousands of competitors, Riverside Roofing continues to stand out. And guess what? They got openings this winter for your roof project. Call 425-949-8252 or go to riversideroofingllc.com, the roofing company you can trust.
Matt Coker here from West Coast Men's Health. Guys, if you're taking Viagra or any other pill for ED, I want you to ask yourself this question. Do I want to continue to do this for the rest of my life? If you're like most men, the answer is no. Here at West Coast Men's Health, we can restore blood flow naturally without pumping your body full of chemicals like you've been doing. Guys, you need to come in today and fix this problem now. Why are you putting this off? Viagra's not going to magically start working next week, and you don't want to use shots or go under the knife. Call us today and speak with our clinic manager. Ask him any question you like, how it works, the science behind it, and even the cost. Change your life today like the thousands of men who already have. If you're tired of dealing with ED or Peyronie's disease, then call West Coast Men's Health.
With clinics in Redmond and Tacoma, call 206-519-6541. That's 206-519-6541. 206-519-6541. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
The Seattle Golf Show, Friday, February 7th and Saturday the 8th at the Seattle Convention Center. Get up to 4 rounds of golf when you buy tickets online and free balls at the door while they last. Shop the huge Putts Golf Spring Sale. Test big brands like Titleist, Cleveland, Callaway, and more. See 100 exhibits, get lessons, and kids under 12 are free. Enter to win 4 Seattle Golf Show tickets. SeattleSports.com/win. That's the Seattle Golf Show, February 7th and 8th at the Seattle Convention Center. Contest and rules at SeattleSports.com/win.
I started Davis Law Group in 1994 to fight for the underdog. And as our team has grown, we've stayed true to that mission. Today, Davis Law Group is known for providing excellent service and even better results. Visit WashingtonAccidentBooks.com to get your free book on car accident law.
Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe.
Hey, it's Mike Salk here for my friends at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Yes, I said and hotel. If you're looking for a fun night out, Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel is just the place to go. Whether it's Vista Prime Steak and Seafood with their reimagined happy hour or Falls Buffet as well. The breathtaking views of the Snoqualmie Valley and Mount Si. You can find all the details at snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Only 30 minutes from downtown. Seattle's closest, Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
I've always said, the car sales in the 1980s and 1990s, earned the rep that we have today. The concerns that consumers have because of what has happened in our industry in the past, they're warranted. It's our job to show them that that's not how business is done anymore, right? It's very different business. It's much more transparent. There's much more information that's available to people. And we're much more customer focused than I think the car industry was, 20, 30 years ago. I'm more focused on providing good customer service and relationships because I think if you take care of people, money will always come. So I think just the philosophy and the focus for us has changed, where I was constantly chasing a paycheck and now I'm just constantly trying to take care of customers and employees because I know if I do that, then paycheck will take care of itself.
The LJ Way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
Swedish Cyberknife has been serving the Pacific Northwest with innovative and compassionate care since 2006. Being able to precisely and accurately deliver radiation makes a difference in terms of controlling cancer and reducing the risk of side effects. The treatment is completed in only 5 sessions, lasting less than an hour. Patient surveys consistently give Swedish Cyberknife the highest of rankings. Swedish.org/cyberknife prostate. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish Cyberknife.
This hour is brought to you by Mazda of Everett.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bump and Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Coming up at 1:45, it's What I Need to Know, so get your questions in. Any question you have. Any question to the Mac and Jack's text line, 866-979-3776. Right now, we're heading to the station for Hype Train. First one in. Pete Carroll taking over as head coach of the Raiders, already adding to his staff. He just needs to find his quarterback. I don't know whether that's all. The most important piece. I don't know whether they're going to figure that part of it out, but I'll tell you this. Your first Hype Train, Pete Carroll's Raiders make the playoffs in 2025.
Ooh-wee.
Don't even take a year.
They finished third to last in their conference with 4 wins. The last team to get into the playoffs in their conference had 10 wins. You need at least 10 to be considered. We were considered here in Seattle, but it didn't go down. Nah, I ain't going to no dang playoff. Stacy, don't even have a quarterback yet, man. And that jump would be ridiculous. I know we're looking at what the Vikings had a big jump from 7 to 14.
Yeah, and I think the Commanders had a massive one too.
Yeah, they went from, I think, 4 wins to 12.
4 to 12.
Hey.
There's an opportunity, but you know what those guys had? Quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Jay Daniels
pretty important part of it.
So I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to say they win 8 to 9 games next year.
Okay. Curtis, Pete Carroll's Raiders make the playoffs in 2025. Bump says he sees improvement, but not more than double their win total to 10, 11, 12. Are you boarding this train? Raiders playoffs 2025.
I'm kind of with, I am with Bump, not kind of with Bump. I am with Bump on this one. I don't see the Raiders making the playoffs in 2025, but with Pete Carroll, I think you're a lock for like 7 wins. That's just kind of your base level.
Mm-hmm.
And then anything beyond that is an improvement. So I don't see the Raiders making an improvement all the way to playoff contention, but I think they will be a better team in 2025. I think quarterback, they're going to have to address that in the draft, I feel like, unless for some odd reason they find some team willing to trade them a veteran, but it's going to be a tough sledding for them until they get that quarterback spot.
It is a tricky spot for them to be in. It's like you have not a top 5 pick, but the number 6 overall pick, but it's a very shallow class.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way. I mean, right? There's no way they take a quarterback at 6 if Cam and Shador are gone.
No.
That's a way overdraft.
I mean, Jackson Dart, Kyle McCord, Dylan Gabriel, somebody would have a huge come up if they did.
God, that's incredible. Yeah, it's really, really hard, as Bump said, to improve without having that quarterback. And while the number 6 pick is an enviable position to be in, you're not going to find your answer in this class. You got to be too creative with it. No one boarding this one. No aboard. Next up. We just talked about the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, versus the most talented of all time, a list that included, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. 2 of those guys are yet to win their first Super Bowl. Josh Allen will win a Super Bowl before Lamar Jackson.
Well, Josh Allen is in the AFC East. The Miami Dolphins look like they are spiraling out of control. The Patriots have a couple years before they do their thing, I think. And the Jets are just trying to survive. I think they're going to have an old quarterback. Lamar got to see Joe Burrow every dang year. Every dang year, twice a year. I hate to say it because Lamar is probably my favorite player in the game right now. I think Josh does see it before Baltimore does. So am I on that train? I'm on the train. Unfortunately.
Bump is boarding reluctantly, but he must. Curtis, Josh Allen will win a Super Bowl before Lamar Jackson. Bump aboard. Are you?
I am not boarding. I don't know why I'm not boarding, but I I just have a vibe about this train.
Do you think it's Lamar before Josh? Is that why you're not boarding, or do you think neither gets it?
I think it's Lamar before Josh. I think the Ravens' defense is better than the Bills' defense. Now, I do kind of wonder how much longer Derrick Henry has in Baltimore. He's, I think he's 30, or if he's not, he's close to 30 years old, which we know is that's the line of demarcation for running backs. So I still think Lamar Jackson wins the Super Bowl before Josh Allen. I have no statistical reasoning as to why.
No, nothing in Hype Train is based on statistics.
Right, that's true.
It's just vibes. I will say the vibe I have. Okay, so one aboard this train so far. I don't know that I'm boarding either. I accept Bump's reasoning, and the Bills did get closer than the Ravens this year to winning a Super Bowl, or to getting to the Super Bowl, excuse me. Josh Allen also was amazing. He had an MVP caliber season. He didn't make massive mistakes in this game. He got the first down.
Yeah.
He did.
He did.
I'm not boarding, but I'll add this to it, which isn't really a hype train, which is just, I don't know why something feels like we're not going to get both winning one. Like we are not going to, I don't know. I like Curtis. No reason to believe this, but it just feels like there's so much talent in the AFC, in particular, so much young quarterback talent, that I don't know we see Josh Allen and Lamar each win a Super Bowl.
Man,
that's a lot of back and forth between those
what's
three.
What's the equivalent to those two? It's Phillip Rivers, and who else is a great? Is it just Phillip and Dan Marino? They're going to be them?
I think I'm thinking of someone better than Phillip Rivers.
Matt Ryan, yeah, I like that one. Same era. Yeah.
And Matt Ryan's MVP season in 2016 too. I feel like I'm thinking of someone better. Like I think Josh and Lamar deserve a better. It's almost like if Manning never won one. No.
Yeah, I think Curtis got it. I think it's Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan.
Dang. Next up. To the Mariners, we're trying to figure out the infield situation. Dylan Moore is your opening day third baseman.
Demo, my man. He's ripped too. See Demo? He's on point.
No,
man.
I didn't.
He's ripped up.
You want a drive line?
I'm going to drive line. Drive line. I want to see their profit and loss. They had to have a great year with all the hype they're getting. At this point, on January 30th at 1:37. Demo's going to be the guy. Demo Swag. I'm sorry, I'm taking it from Swaggerty. Oh, no, I'm taking
He's
it from...
not here anymore.
I'm taking it from David Moore. David Moore with Demo Swag.
That's right.
Yeah. Here we go.
Dylan Moore is your opening day third baseman. Bump is boarding this train. Curtis, are you boarding with him?
Boarding, yeah. I think Dylan Moore is absolutely the opening day third baseman. I kind of wish he was more in that utility role than as an everyday player, but yeah, he's pretty much locked in at this point. I don't see a flurry of moves happening before spring training gets here. Maybe they add one more guy, but even if they do add one more guy, I don't think it's going to push Dylan Moore out of the starting lineup.
Matt, you know what to do here. I'm boarding too. All aboard. Dylan Moore is your opening day third baseman. No disrespect to Dylan whatsoever. I just would have loved to see a little more competition at the infield, so I'm not particularly excited about it, but I don't know. We'll see what happens with this team as they report for spring training in, 3-4 weeks from now. Last one. I'm saying this as someone who hasn't even seen a ton of his movies. Tom Cruise is the greatest action star.
He does his own stunts, which I respect.
Okay.
I saw a video of this man hooked up to the side of an airplane and it's taking off. But y'all forgetting somebody.
Oh?
Jackie Chan did all his own stunts
Whoa.
too. Jackie Chan. So I feel like they're equal though, because Jackie Chan used to jump across buildings and stuff. Like Tom would jump out of airplanes and over mountain with parachutes. Jackie Chan was doing stuff like, just jumping gaps and stuff. So can they get on the train together? Is that
Why don't
possible?
we say you're not boarding the train because you believe there's a co-champ here?
Yeah, there's a co-champ.
Co-champs. Okay, so Bump cannot board the train because he thinks there's a co-champ. Tom Cruise doesn't have sole title as best action star. Curtis, are you boarding this train? Tom Cruise, greatest action star all time.
I'm racking my mind just thinking like who's got the better resume, and it's hard to go against Tom Cruise in terms of greatest action star. Mission Impossible series, Top Gun as well. What was he? Jack Reacher too. I mean, the guy's resume is stacked. So yeah, I'll board this train. I think he is the greatest action star of all time.
I'm going to say underrated action star because it's a different kind of action. Keanu Reeves.
Keanu.
Underrated star
John
where I
Wick.
like so
And The
many of his
Matrix.
movies, and they are action movies. The Matrix, the John Wick series.
John the Wick.
Curtis the Rogers.
I think I'm gonna bored just because when I think of blockbuster action movie, I think of Tom Cruise, but that's propaganda.
Most overrated. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Terminator? Predator? Seriously?
Overrated. What'd he do? He
He's the same guy in all of them.
He didn't physically put himself in harm's way like these two have. It was all just
Well,
generated
Matt, who's
stuff.
the best action star of all time?
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford. Give me back
Indiana
my daughter.
Jones.
Give me back
Star
my
Wars.
daughter. Dang it.
Air Force One.
Man, that's
The
old.
best
That's old man
all-time,
action. It's all
all-time.
the shots are all from waist up. You know, he ain't running nowhere. When you see him run, besides Indiana Jones,
But do you
30 years ago.
do you a little bit agree with the point that Arnold is a little overrated?
Yeah,
if you
but
think
I'm not
of
mad
his
at Harrison
resume
Ford,
compared
though.
to Harrison.
I'm not mad at Harrison Ford though.
Like Harrison Ford has the range. Arnold does not have the range.
Terminator.
Okay, fine.
Predator.
Fine.
That's all you need to be an amazing action star.
What I need to know is coming your way next. Get your questions in 866-979-3776.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Let's talk to Kevin Burkhardt right now. As you know, one of my absolute favorites. Who plays quarterback for Pete Carroll next year? I'm going to give you four choices. A, Russell Wilson. B, Geno Smith. C, Shedeur Sanders.
D, Tom Brady.
D, the field.
Well, it's not Tom. I can tell you that. I can tell you that. I think it's going to be Russell. It's fair. I think it's going to be Russell. If you're asking me today to handicap that right now.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? So you've got an oil change coming up. We can help you save on the right oil for your vehicle. Right now, get 5 quarts of Castrol Edge Full Synthetic or Castrol Edge Full Synthetic High Mileage Motor Oil with an STP Extended Life Oil Filter for just $35.99. Visit one of our 6,000 stores or order from AutoZone.com for same-day store pickup or next-day delivery.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC now recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
So what if I need a new one? We have the right Duralast battery for you, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Guys, did you know your testosterone affects everything in your system, including how you feel and perform every day? Right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. Knowing your T levels is the first step in understanding if you have low T. Your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED. Maintaining an appropriate T level can change your whole life. Most men start to see changes in their hormone levels in their 30s. Experience and results matter. So what are you waiting for? Get your T levels checked today by local, experienced, and trusted men's health experts. They've helped thousands of men since 2011. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Call Revive today and schedule your free testosterone test, free exam, and free consultation. Call Revive Men's Health at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
We are Seattle Sports. 7:10 a.m. on your radio. Streaming through the Seattle Sports app. Get new videos, podcasts, and articles on the Seahawks and Mariners from your favorite Seattle sports personalities daily.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. Our local tax expert Greg Nunn wants taxpayers to know the IRS is now going after older cases very aggressively. If you received Form CP-504 from the IRS, do not ignore it. Be proactive and resolve your situation with Greg Nunn, N-U-N-N, None Better Tax Resolution.
The Hot Stove Show. Stay up to date on the Mariners offseason with Aaron Goldsmith, Gary Hill, and Shannon Dreyer.
Swing and a miss for strike 3.
Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. leading up to spring training.
In between storms, have Asset Roofing inspect your roof just to make sure everything is okay up there. It's Bob Stelton here for Asset Roofing. It's a quick appointment that will most likely give you peace of mind and save you thousands of dollars later. Remember, you're either hiring a liability or you're hiring an asset. Head to AssetRoofingCo.com. That's AssetRoofingCo.com.
Certified work that's never in doubt. Asset Roofing, excellence is on the house.
You're losing your hair and you want a simple solution that works, and you want the best. Modern technology, top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need world-class Dr. Parango and his team at Advanced Hair. Advanced Hair has completely redefined hair restoration, from the experience itself to the unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair. Get your hair back with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment that begins regrowing your own natural hair the very next day. Advanced Hair has changed tens of thousands of lives, including mine. And get this, they were recently crowned 425 Business of the Year. For your free consultation, call 425-449-8185. 425-449-8185. If you qualify, get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. 425-449-8185. Refine your hairline with a team that's redefined hair restoration. AdvancedHair.com.
Overburdened with a bunch of stuff you don't want anymore, but feel bad throwing it away? John here with Happy Hauler, Seattle's eco-friendly junk removal. We prioritize donating and recycling. We'll help get your items to those in need instead of going to the landfill. At Happy Hauler, we pride ourselves on responsibility, community, and sustainability. We're a family-run small business that provides junk removal, donations, and recycling. Make yourself, your community, and the planet happy. It's time to reclaim your space. HappyHauler.com, hauling with a heart.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
this is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2
on Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Get your questions in for What I Need to Know. Any question you have, text it to the Mac and Jacks text line 866-979-3776. What I Need to Know, says our first listener, what's the worst advice you've ever received?
Just go talk to her.
What's the worst that could happen?
Man, I'll never forget, man, I was in like 7th grade, and there's this girl named Thea, and she was in 9th grade. Clearly out of my league. Out of my league. And one of my girlfriends was like, just go talk to her, bum. And I shot my shot, and she hit me. The first thing she hit me with little boy. And it crushed my soul.
Oh, no.
Thank you for making me a stronger person.
I think I can't think of a particular piece of advice, but any advice that's come to me from someone where it's like, you don't know the struggle. You know what I mean? Like really, really just like objectively like attractive, wealthy, like everything's going for them. And they're like, have more confidence. And like whatever advice they give, you're like, I appreciate you, but like it's like if someone was a 10 and then they say the go talk to her kind of thing. And you're like, man.
Come on, you set me up. Tell me the truth.
Yeah.
Tell me the truth.
Or same thing would be like someone with a ton of money being like, oh, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Just buy it. It's worth it. And you're like, I don't think you and I are.
$5,000 purse.
Yeah. I don't think you and I are in the same bracket here.
No.
What I need to know. In high school, a Pee Wee football player tried to tackle me, but he didn't even move me an inch. Then I gave him the stink eye. When have you actually given a kid the stink eye? Or I'll add on to this, listener. When's a time when you kind of like maybe got into it with a kid or you were like, man, you're so lucky?
I took my kids to Disneyland last year. And if you've been to Disneyland, you got to park like 5 miles away. And then they come and pick you up on one of the little trolleys or whatever. And we're sitting there. And I got into a staring contest with this little girl. She's like looking at me all crazy. She looked me up and down. She's like 8 years old. So I just stared at her. Like, what's up?
You stared back?
And then my kids are laughing at me like, Dad, she's a kid. I go, listen, They need to learn. I'm not losing the staring contest. That's probably the last.
Dang. Did she look
situation.
away?
Nah, it literally, we got off the little trolley staring at each other.
Curtis?
This happened over Thanksgiving weekend. We took our girls to a children's museum, and Blair was playing in this like little water fountain, and this kid was probably like 6 or 7 years old, like pushed her out of the way. Blair is 18 months old, and I made eye contact with this kid, and I was like, try that again?
Yeah.
You want to say sorry? Like, God, I would have punted that kid if I could.
You know what? I'm counting teenagers as kids, but I used to hear stories from my friend who was a high school teacher about just how mean some of these kids would be to other kids. And there would be times when you're like, the kid that's being really, really mean, you're like, you're not going to do blank when you're older.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not attractive. You're not smart. You're not, like, this kid just happened to be popular in high school, and you're like, man, the world is going to hit you hard. But you can't tell them that.
Yeah, but
And
listen.
you so badly want to be like, you're picking on this girl because she's nice. And you're picking on this girl maybe because she's pretty. Like, you're being mean because you're jealous.
Yep.
And but you can't tell a kid that. So I would get like full of rage listening to these stories and be like, I could never be a high school teacher. I could never deal professionally with kids bullying another kid.
Not in today's world.
Not in today's world.
And they don't let anybody fail anymore.
Nope.
Let them fail.
Yeah. What I need to know. Okay, choose between these two things, which is more annoying. Ready? Someone talking on speakerphone while shopping. So just hearing someone constantly talk on speakerphone, and like, let's say they're just around you wherever you are. Or going for a parking spot only to have someone drive into it as you're about to pull into it.
I can deal with that. That happens all the time. Parking. But the talking, no one cares, Susan, what you and Barb are talking about. I can't stand it. I don't want to hear your conversation. And if you are talking on the phone and you're not on speaker, just speak with an inside voice. You don't need to be all loud.
Oh, anyone on speaker is using an outside voice.
Yeah.
That's a 100% positive correlation. I'm going looking for parking. To me is one of the most annoying things on the planet. Nothing is more annoying than when you think you finally found a spot and then someone else pulls in, especially if you have your blinker on. I'll eavesdrop. I'll listen to your whole conversation. Like, whatever's going on, I'll be tempted to ask a question afterwards.
You'd be entertained?
Yeah, I'd be entertained. So I rarely get annoyed with that. That's happened a couple times at the nail salon I go to. I will sit and listen to that whole conversation. And if you think I'm not, you're wrong. Let's see. What I need to know. Bump, says one listener. What's something you were better at than DK?
Oh.
Careful.
Running routes from the slot. I got that.
Okay.
I had that. Hey, huh. His body ain't built like that.
Oh my God. What I need to know. Someone said, we talked about bad advice. I operated on that advice in 7th grade, and I couldn't hold my head up in front of that crush all the way through college. No.
Hey, shoot your shot, but shoot high percentage shots. You know?
Yeah.
We're all not Steph Curry.
Exactly.
Which quarterback wins more games next year if selected by the Raiders? Russ, Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Shedeur Sanders. Pretend that any of these and all of these are possible.
Russ.
Whoa.
I think he's comfy in his comfort zone.
You don't think maybe another year under his belt, a healthier Kirk Cousins? He wasn't 100% last year.
Man, Kurt, how many times is he going to fool you? How many times is Kirk Cousins going to fool you?
He'll fool me again. I'll be open about that. He will fool me again.
He got me.
I will not be rooting for him to take over that job from Michael Penix Jr., obviously. But I don't know why I looked at this list and my mind went Kirk.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's played the best football as of late.
Yeah.
Our full season of football. Last time he played a full season.
Yeah. Let's see. Do I have time for one more? What I need to know. What was your favorite and least favorite part of a snow day? It's supposed to snow next week.
Man, I ain't getting no snow days in Cali. The worst part is that the kids are at home instead of at school.
Best part, you get to go back to sleep.
Man, I wish we had snow days growing up.
Worst part is it's freezing overnight, and then it turns into an ice rink the next
But then
day.
you got to make it up at the end of the school year, right?
That's the thing. So it's not really
So
that
actually, that's the best part for me.
that you didn't have to do that.
Kids get to, they're in school longer, my kids, at the end of the year. Go to school.
This has been Bump and Stacy. If you missed any part of the show, make sure you check out the Bump and Stacy podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google Play, or SeattleSports.com. For Michael Bumpus, Curtis Rogers, Matt Nelson, I'm Stacy Rost. Wyman and Bob coming your way next.
Hey,
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
This is the one, the only skipper of your Seattle Mariners, Dan Wilson.
These guys are really excited. They are really wanting to get to that postseason, and there's a strong desire to get there. There's a strong desire to raise their standards and do what it takes to get there. And, all that starts in a week and a half or so, and that's what's exciting about spring training is getting started on that long journey.
Hear the rest of this interview on demand at SeattleSports.com and on the Seattle Sports YouTube page.
From whiplash to herniated discs, there are a few car accident injuries we've all heard of. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law